When the topic of old school Monster Hunter is brought up, most of the fossils that were around back in the day all tend to say that yes, old gen games were in fact way better. And if you ask these people what their #1 favorite game is, they would all look at you in unison and say Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. And if they say it's either of these, either run in the other direction or throw a heavy object at them because that's not a human. That is either a skinwalker or a Norwegian. This is perhaps the single most glazed game I have ever seen in my entire life. And hey, that's not for no reason. The Freedom Unite monster cast is so stacked with fun monsters. You get to fight, no, he doesn't count, oops, how'd that one get in there? Now let's see if we, no, not that one, no. Hey look, a fun one. That's right, this game has invented the series' first fun fight, Narga Kuga. Before starting this game, I got to thinking, you know, I'm really enjoying my life so much right now. I wonder what I could do to have that not be the case. And while looking at the beautiful sunset, I came up with the idea of completing every base quest in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite and unlocking every single one of their respective rewards. That means Apaki Village Chiefs, Nekotes, Hunter Dojos, Special Hunters Dojos, Gathering Hall Low Ranks, Gathering Hall High Ranks, Gathering Hall G Ranks, and all of Treshy's quests need to have the pink clear sign, ultimately unlocking the Supreme Hunter's Crest. And not only this, but I'm going to be doing it all completely solo. Not for the sake of an added challenge, but because everybody that I try to play it with had lives. I also have to do it blind because I've been staring at this sunset for way too long. The story begins in a field of dead herbivores, where Granny, a sad and useless sword and shield main, gets launched from the very peak down onto her dumb cruciform head, being rescued by a disgusting retired hunter who can't help but glaze the Tigrex at any possible turn. Side note, I know it's pronounced Tigrex to sound like T-Rex or the Spanish word for tiger mixed with Rex, but also shut up. Tigrex is way cooler. So Tigrex put Granny on ice, irreversibly destroying her floral pride. Apaki Village is definitely one of the more beloved areas in this series, it housing so many areas that are cool and fun and helpful, which would slowly and surely be phased out of the games. Things like the Paki Farm, the home kitchen, and the giant Eldritch Terror Sword that's regrowing and nothing can stop it, and Nekote, who has no hands. After introducing myself to everyone, I depart on the first quest. Unlike the first, second-generation Monster Hunter game that wants its beloved players to remove their hands and jump into a lion's den with a sausage necklace, Freedom Unite actually starts the players off slow, with a lot of gathering and small monster quests. These quests work great to acclimate players to how the game and weapons control. I always thought it was a little weird starting us off with a locale that requires a certain type of item to be used in order to function well within that area, but I guess only the snowy parts of the snowy mountains need hot drinks, so whatever. Upon returning from the first quest, we get introduced to a novel feature in Freedom Unite that, from what I can tell, originated in Freedom 1. The ability to hire feline chefs. In more recent games, you have an extremely broad spectrum of food skills to choose from, as they're usually tied directly to the food that you ordered. But in Freedom Unite, your food skills depend entirely on the feline chefs that specialize in that food skill. In other words, if you want Lucky Cat in World, just choose the foods that will give you Lucky Cat. And if you want Lucky Cat in Freedom Unite, hire 5 feline chefs that specialize in Mega Lucky Cat. Then eat food and maybe you'll get it. Maybe. Just like in Dose, some foods have the ability to poison you, giving terrible, intolerable cramps on the next quest. For some reason, Kirin cheese and heaven bread tastes really bad. Anyways, we hire Udon, the professional meat chef, do some quests, and get the opportunity to hire a different feline, the feline comrade. These things make the game so much more manageable in most cases. Feline comrades would go on to become mainstays in the series, later to be renamed Palicos in Monster Hunter 4. They draw aggro, play healing horns, fight the monster. Could have really used this in the prior Monster Hunter game, to be completely honest. The reason why I say they help in most cases is, well, we'll get to that. Welcome to the team, Summer and Lori. I'm not going to delve too deep into these 3 quests because they're just baby training wheels quests.
The real meat of the matter in HR1 is the Popo's Tongue quest. Frightened youth tastes danger. Something must be up there on the peak of the snowy mountains. Golly, I wonder what it could be.
This monster is such a menace to the Popo species and frozen areas as a whole that Popos had to develop a symbiotic relationship with a fellow traumatized juggernaut just to not go extinct. Anyways, he's in the same zone as me and I have no good armor, so hooray. Luckily, I've mastered the sacred monster hunter art of holding left or right and occasionally pressing the run button. Foolish dinosaur, your efforts are in vain.
Also, ignore the screen tearing in these early clips. When I recorded this playthrough the first 3 days, I didn't know what a preview projector was, so this footage is a little bit choppy. Also, if you want to see this playthrough unfold, to either confirm I didn't cheat or just to watch some Freedom Unite gameplay, you can find that in the playlist in the description.
Anyways, the rest of the tongues were collected without a lick of trouble. Except for when I tried to throw down with Tigrex with my level 1 bone lance and carted to the unholy tail hitbox on its charge.
I'm sure that will never happen again.
1-star fluff quests out of the way, the first large monster quest becomes available. In Dose, these guys were called White Velociprey, but here they're called Giaprey, led by their leader, the Giadrome. In Dose, Giaprey could spit frost on you and make you a snowman. That's no good. And something Freedom Unite removed, instead designating that power solely to the Papa, Giadrome. He's a chill guy.
What you're witnessing on your screen right now, I like to call greatsword gameplay. After Monster Hunter for the PlayStation DOS, they decided they would change how you reach optimal damage with the greatsword. Instead of swinging the weapon around like a madman, now you have to time charged slashes, which would go on to become this weapon's whole thing, which it still is even today. A lot of greatsword gameplay then is just trying to predict where a monster will be when the slash fires off, most of the time missing just barely or getting hit out of it. When those charged slashes hit though, the monster gets completely shredded. I whiffed every single shot I took before carting to this Giadrome, and then when I got back, hit it flawlessly 3 consecutive times and he died on a 3rd hit. Greatsword moment. After sufficiently proving herself to being not completely useless, the Pocky Elder grants Granny access to 2-star quests, enabling travel to the desert and the Jungle. 18 quests total. 11 of which are gathering or small monster quests that I'm not going to talk about because that's kind of boring. Save for this one. Deliver 3 Piscine livers. This is a key quest, meaning you're not able to advance to the next rank until this one is beaten. This is Freedom Unite's first quest that features the Dry Fey. The only other Fey possible to be encountered before this is that weird Plesioth head on a normal fish's body thing in the kitchen. This quest requires of Granny to deliver 3 fish guts, and luckily, I know just how to accomplish such a thing. For you see, when I was but a boy, I once caught a yellow perch and instead of throwing it back like a normal person, opted to grab my cousin and played badminton with its body. This game of badminton ended up yielding the creature's internal organs. I've been haunted by the ghost of that perch ever since. That ghoul must have spread the word that I'm out looking for some livers, because these Cephalos want absolutely nothing to do with me or my soulless broccoli-haired husk I'm puppeteering. And unfortunately, there is no badminton in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. So the next logical step would be to gun down the dusty Piscines with maximum prejudice. And when you do kill it, there's a 40% chance that what you take from it is not a Piscine liver. After peppering them with countless arrows, the first Cephalos died, and it only took 6 minutes. What a fun quest. I'm so happy that I did that. Back with the big guys, the next large monster is the Velocidrome, the series OG punching bag. And as you can see, I'm using Hunting Horn, what I think is my most used weapon in the series, besides maybe Swax. Hunting Horn in this game, while not being turbo cheeks like it was in DOS, still plays the support weapon tune with songs only being playable in performance mode, which hard locks you in one spot, granting monster free access to do whatever it wants to your tender little behind. The most important song though is this easy little 2-note self-improvement song that gives free movement speed and evade extend. That paired with the most abhorrent Hunting Horn design, this Velocidrome was outsped and completely traumatized, having lost his life to the disgusting distended body of his distant relative. How wholesome. Yan Cut Ku. Sword and Shield in the Monster Hunter series is funny, because it seems like in only 2 games was it actually cool. First time being in the Generations games when you could oil that shit up. Every game before Generations, this is like one of the most brain-dead button mashing weapons out of them all. And then in World it was cool, and after World and Iceborne it became perfect rush simulator. This is the first time I've noticed it in game, but when your feline comrades are dead and move to respawn, you could actually see their soul rush straight to your location, and this little shadow as if there was something there, which I think is very spooky. After putting down the pink bird, next is Mr. Pig, who is no larger than the popos surrounding him. Hammer is one of the most consistently good weapons across the entire Monster Hunter series. Its particular one being really trash, because it's just a bone. In general, you can never go wrong with Hammer. It bonks, it gets results. It gives every monster chronic traumatic encephalopathy, to which every Hammer main, I'm sure, can relate. Bulldrum would otherwise be the game's punching bag in the place of Velocidrome if Bulldrum didn't turn his entire body into a hitbox. I should also mention that if this game looks a little bit weird to you guys, it's because I installed texture mods before my playthrough and then forgot how to turn them off. For the most part, they make the game look good, but there's some monsters like Bulldrum that just look like he has white stains on his fur. That's the last color of stain you want on your fur. Thankfully, we put him down with ease and hire a new indentured servant, Chibi, who poisons Granny and they make their hasty escape. The next monster is Conga Lala, the gassy pink stink that was so boldly brought back knowing that modders could do something like this. Given how well Wilds has sold, there is a non-0% chance that this was somebody's awakening. There's also a non-zero chance that this is someone's first exposure to the game. My weapon of choice for here is the light bowgun. A weapon usable only once in every 5 hunts in early game. Because in order to play this weapon, you need copious amounts of bullets. Since it's early game, the quest rewards are pittance. The payouts are basically nothing. And to get bullets, we need money. In other words, 4 out of 5 hunts, this weapon is completely unusable. Light bowgun's claim to fame in Freedom Unite is that certain bowguns have rapid fire capability, meaning if an ammo type works good, a volley of 5 would work really good. This fight is the first time that this happened. Alright. Okay, so what you guys saw right there was I tried to shoot, and if you remember, the shooting button in Monster Hunter DOS is you press down the right analog stick. And what happens to be the speed up feature on the emulator? Oh, none other than the right analog stick. Awesome. Also, I know people sometimes have qualms with the usage of emulators, and I get that. Sometimes they can make it so the people that made the game don't actually get the money that they deserve. I agree with that sentiment overall, but here's why I make an exception for specifically Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. In 2014, Monster Hunter announced their iOS port of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, which was a really fun and novel thing. Wow, a mainline Monster Hunter game on my phone. Awesome. And it was awesome. I did every single quest through to Yamatsukami, and then, in 2019, it was gone. They pulled Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, so I couldn't play it anymore. All that time I spent in that game just poof, as if nothing happened, and I didn't even get a fucking refund. At least I would say that, as if I was the one that paid for it. But my mom didn't get a refund when she bought it for me when I was like 12. Rant aside, Conga Lala killed Granny, resulting in her picking up a lance. Now, Lance is a fantastic weapon. While innovation with Lance in recent games is pretty non-existent, in these older games, Lance was at the top of its game. Mostly because that big giant shield is usually really good at deterring the old-gen trash hitboxes. Oh hey, would you look at that? The attack hit right through the shield. It wasn't bulletproof, but its stalwart and straightforward playstyle made it a fantastic choice for dealing with old-gen monsters. Even so, Conga put up a pretty resilient effort. And not because he has terrible hitboxes or stupid gimmicks, but more because he's a genuinely strong and aggressive monster. Still, he got skewered. One Gendrum later, and we move on to one of the most infamous monsters ever, the Cephadrome. Hunters speak well of its fierce hip checks, ferocious tail swings, and worst of all, his desire to actually not do any of the aforementioned attacks in favor of the most powerful technique in any Monster Hunter game, pretending you don't exist. This is definitely one of the more complained about fights in the series, but I think it does well to teach an important rudiment of the olden days. You're not here for a good time, you're here for a long time. Sonic bombs are the best course of defense against the forbidden Cephadrome technique, but a recent development at the Cephadrome Research Facility in Macedonia found an alternative solution. You see, when designing the Cephadrome fight, Capcom drew inspiration from 4th century BC King Alexander the Great's Siege of Tyre, wherein the then king would, over the course of 7 months, slowly chip away at the city's defenses. Cephadrome likewise plans to win by taking you to time, the two united in their combined admiration for big buff men. The theory then is this: Alexander was a human, and most humans in real life have a particular weakness towards explosions and big buff men. And while I unfortunately do not have the latter, small barrel bombs can be bought in bulk at Pocky Village. So what if instead of crafting innumerable sonic bombs, we instead buy the cheap and easy small barrel bombs to drive the sand shark out of the sand? Yes, brilliant technology. Now to kill him via poison, just like his idol. Now look. I know this might look bad, but I promise this next fight is really good. I'm of course talking about the urgent quest with the monster that stands completely still and either roars or turns his body into an untouchable ball of lightning. One of the monsters that is constantly brought back and is just as constantly unpleasant, Kezu, who I decided I would roast with a gun lance. I love gun lance in Freedom Unite so much more than I did in DOS. In a broader sense, they nerfed the fire element damage it would do, which who cares? That affects like 3 monsters. But buffed the explosive part of the shelling, which completely ignores monster defense and does static damage. In other words, it's pretty fucking good. And don't get me started on the Wyvern's Fire, oh my lord! With the shift in focus going from slapping the monster with a lance to exploding, this weapon now has to be sharpened approximately every quarter of a second. Amazing. Next up on the list of totally awesome monsters that are totally fun and likable is Gypsyros, the rubber bird that has a lot of abilities designed more to annoy you than anything else. This guy is incredibly easy to pick apart as long as you know how to fiend for head hits. And once the crest is broken, it's basically all over. For those of you getting sick of me sarcastically hyping up monsters, don't worry, that ends here. How are you in this many games and still come in second to last on the popularity poll? That's more games that you were in than games that you weren't. Actual, irredeemable, inexcusable garbage monster with a dumb forehead. Stop having more health than a Raytheon. How did you get up after being swung around by the neck? Hey guys, did you know that in Generations Ultimate, there's a quest where you have to fight a Hellblade Glavenus and an Iodrome? And that the Iodrome has 2/3 of the health that the Glavenus has? And there's 3 of them? Fuck you, useless 227th place, undying poison dart frog trash raptor. Daimyo Hermitor is next on the chopping block, and just like the other DOS original monster on the list, is actually a pretty fun and interesting fight. I'm kind of starting to see a pattern here. This is my first time that I've ever ran a female hunter in this series, and as such, this is my first exposure to the Monster Hunter armor designer's proclivities. All I have to say about that is, nice! Daimyo Hermitor is an easy fight, and with the introduction of the feline comrades becomes so much easier with bombs knocking him out of his dialed-in shield crab mode. And it's become even easier because unlike in DOS, where the crab can just decide he will begin leisurely walking backwards and it's a full-powered hitbox with 0 frames of startup, in this game he gives out a big obvious battle cry warning you that he will indeed be moving backwards. Oh no. And he ends the attack with a hop that leaves him wide open to attacks. It may look like I'm painting this game as a brain-dead baby's plaything, and for now it kinda is. It does not stay this easy. After clearing the Kezu Urgent, we can now talk to this man, a disciple of the treasure hunter Treshi, who we'll talk about later. Speaking to this man, we gain the ability to use Pocky points to buy Trenya's boat. Trenya is a fellow treasure hunter which, once unlocked, can be financed to go tour the world and bring back materials. After Freedom Unite, the Pocky point system would evolve and be present in every single Monster Hunter game thereafter, with every game having some kind of secondary currency that's separate from Zenny. My favorite to come from this system is Moga resources, which are like parts and resources from monsters that you've killed that can be used by this small village to survive. There's also Waikun Monster Hunter 4 points and World Research Commission points. I don't really remember what they're called. They're not as interesting. The Trenya financing system would also become something of a staple, with the Argosy Captain, Waikun Ship Captain, and Ricardo serving similar purposes in later installments. After sponsoring Trenya, his boat springs a leak and he immediately dies, and Granny gets poisoned herself just in time to fight the Fi. This is Plesioth, possibly the most notorious monster ever, for converting the empty space around him to ultimate death planes. This is a dangerous monster who, like the other fish, sometimes pretends that you do not exist. But just as Alexander besieged the walls of Tyre, this fish has a critical weakness. During the prior Gypsyros hunt, I made sure to gather from this exact pile of barrels, with the goal of gathering one lost umbrella. With this lost umbrella, Kezu parts, and 8 bugs, I could create one of the goats of early game Freedom Unite. That being the Angel Parasol, a weapon which interestingly denotes possible corruption in the Hunters Guild. This weapon is fantastic for 2 reasons. It's spectacular pellet ammo that makes fighting 2 otherwise hard monsters effortless, and its thunder ammo, which is good for shredding fish like a weirdly oblong cheese grater. It also happens to have crag for drawing fish out of the water, poison, which Fe is weak to, and a pierce, making this one of the most perfect anti-Fe weapons available. I say crag because it draws him out of the water, but honestly, this Fe might be less dangerous while he's in the water, and because it's a gun, he's not safe in there. The fish, stripped of his ability to use quantum physics to his advantage, is actually pretty mindless and kinda easy. I actually really like Plesioth. In Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, he was the bane of my existence and the sole reason why my Wii U gamepad looks like this. But over the years, I've grown an appreciation for the brain-dead fish. Thanks to the Umbrella's power, the monster that would have died in 45 minutes instead died in 15. Subspecies time. Imagine, Yayan Kutku, but blue. Interesting? No. I really like Purple Gypsyrose's color scheme. I think the green mixes with the purple really well, and his tail really reminds me of a gummy worm. These both take responsibility for my chronic hypertension. This is the first fight that I've noticed an incredible flaw in the hunting horn hitbox design, in that the overhead swing hitbox literally does not exist. They didn't bother making the action of you swinging the horn tangible. The only part that can actually hit the monster is in the shockwave when it hits the ground. Legends say a hunting horn main reported this flaw to Capcom HQ, and in response they nerfed the weapon for the next 3 generations. Plesioth, but green. Plesioth, but green is only interesting because this fight takes place in the jungle, which has a quick and easy frog gathering spot which can be utilized to fish this giant wyvern out of the water, with incredible cartoon spinach-eating strength. After a brief burning and gathering quest hell, I had enough stuff to create the Marine Fisher. I didn't know it at the time, but the creation of this weapon turned out to be one of the most important decisions I've made throughout the entire playthrough of this game. Upon testing, this weapon proved to be quite the invaluable asset, helping me make another classic weapon, the Dose Hunting Horn, the Kazusi. The same Kazusi that gave Old Timer all the power he needed to defeat the King of the Mountains, Blanganga. Fun fact, there's an official Monster Hunter bar in Akihabara, Japan that I visited that has a Kazusi, which I took a picture soy facing in front of and praying to. In the same bar, I also had my first ever proper drink, in the Rajang's Golden Lion Sour. I always knew Rajang would one day kickstart a life of alcoholism. Kazusi in hand, Granny Veggie felt confident enough to take on the King of the Mountains herself. I love Blanganga. Something about him is just so weighty and imposing. His manner of roaring is completely different from any of the other monkeys. It's not a big show of intimidation like Kanga, and it's not furious anger. It's calmer. It's almost noble. It's like he's alerting the lesser Blangos to their battle stations before squaring up into a more aggressive stance. It's absolutely masterful. This particular Blanagana was a Blanagoner after 10 minutes, so hooray. With the King of the Mountains dead, we're introduced to the 4-star quests, which for some reason includes an Elder Dragon. I can't be the only one that thinks it's really funny that literally 1 page away from this living natural disaster on Wings of Steel is a stupid little small monster quest called Hermitor Buffet. The first monster Granny utterly devoured with the Parasol of Punishment is Monoblos, the Lone Horn Wyvern. In this game, when Monoblos goes under the ground, you have approximately 12 years to not be where you were standing when he started the attack, which is way more generous than it needs to be. Now, guys, I need you to understand for a minute. Monoblos and Plesioth have the same amount of health, right? 3,000 health. So how do you think it's possible that this Monoblos perished in 5 minutes? 5 minutes interladen with him digging and being unreachable. How do you suppose it is so that this thing lay bleeding over the desert sands after engaging for such a short time? Well, you see, the answer lies in this stupid anti-Blos umbrella. If you take specifically pellet ammo with this gun and shoot the hardy desert wyvern's tail, the monster comes apart like cotton candy in a fast-flowing river. It is beyond obscene. Privileged Monoblos followed suit, dying in just under 10 minutes. For a subspecies with 1.5 times the health of the main, that is pretty crazy. With Blanagna and Moaning Blos dead, Granny turned her attention to the arena. For you see, a little birdie told me that if you killed 10 bigger birdies, you unlock a secret biggest birdie, and it was here that I learned the true power of rapid fire light bowguns. This reminds me of my childhood going to an American school. For scale, it took 27 seconds from the first shot landing for this avian to kick the bucket. Look at his sad little face as the final bullet hits his chinny chin chin. And now the lone wolf beckons. the most psychotic of all monsters and strongest bird wyvern, Yian Garuga. He died in 13 minutes. That was a secret boss that I had to go out of my way to kill 10 Yian Kakus in an arena. For that, you're telling me I had to relearn Adobe After Effects for this? Okay, so it may seem like I'm skipping over a lot of things, because I am. This game has hundreds of quests, and I don't want to make the video 18 hours long by delving into the joys of delivering 15 mountain herbs. And I also only know how to write videos when there's a level of suffering involved. So when I complete this particular Yian Garuga quest, no obstacle was overcome. There was nothing that I had to live up to. There was no goal. The quest was just beating on a helpless bird, which is fine from a gameplay perspective because, you know, it's low rank, but that just doesn't make for interesting content, you know? And I'd rather zoom through this stuff to talk about the actual stuff that gave me a challenge later. Freedom Unite's low rank is incredibly easy, which I am actually 100% okay with. It might be because I played through Dose, which is like the equivalent of that kid on the playground that always hits too hard, but I'm fine if the lowest possible rank is a little bit soft and not skin-flayingly, soul-raisingly hard, like it seems a lot of people want today. Don't get me wrong, I don't want it to be too easy, but Freedom Unite's low rank strikes a really good balance of being forgiving of mistakes, but also not being unfailably easy. The only thing I'd really change is to make Monoblos not spend 10 seconds underground before giving chase. Yian Garuga has some top-of-the-line poison weapons, with one of his weapons being a personal favorite of mine, though we'll see more about that one later. After a bit of grinding, I geared Granny Veggie with the Raven Tessin, dual blades to fight a Bazarios. That's correct. Like a psychopathic masochist with so many other weapons at my disposal, I decided to take dual blades to the bellowing boulder baby. I had to sharpen so much. This fight was over 20 minutes of roars, poisons, and the Monster Hunter weapon bounce sound effect that Bazarios is often responsible for. The baby dies. Now we get into the juicy parts of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Among the ranks of monkeys, crabs, and the 227th place wyvern is the living force of nature, Kashala Deora. Is it just me, or is this one a little out of place and standing next to his 4-star contemporaries? Anyways, it's time to be swept up in a snowstorm. The living natural disaster, Kashala Deora. A bronze-nosed, screaming, spitting dragon with steely metallic scales. My chosen weapon for the first dragon of the game is the Yian Garuga Rectangular Prism. My chosen armor, the Blanganga Blademaster set. For the express purpose of getting the privilege to wear a little traffic cone on my head. You might look at the cold elimination and think, hey, that's pretty good, isn't it? No. For you see, even though it has the allotted 10 points in cold elimination, this only works for these 2 zones in the snowy mountains, leaving the effect utterly useless because monsters never go to these 2 zones and they rarely go to this one. How helpful. Kashala Deora surprisingly put up a valiant fight, prompting a feint that was completely avoidable and properly stupid. Would you believe me if I told you that approximately 20 minutes prior, Granny Veg was lying on the ground due to food poisoning? After making the long, sad climb back up the Gen 2 snowy mountains, the beast was blown to smithereens, his horn shattered and face scarred, allowing the landmark to return to its gentle, non-inclement state. Awaiting the menace to return to the known world, Granny grabbed a weird bunch of rocks and then turned them into an extremely hazardous-looking hammer, making way to the volcano to shred a familiar blue crab. Shogun Cianatar. Huge fan of this guy. This monster is great. It's a challenging fight, and there's a real skill ceiling that isn't just hoping the Ghost of Christmas Past decides to spare you. There's a ton to gain by learning about its fight, from good positioning to roll timing. Excellent monster. The Crystal Collaborer smashed him open in about 10 minutes. Time enough for the Dragon of Steel to pick a suitable burial grounds in the Dose jungle. Donning the Blango armor that grants its wearer 0 tactical advantage whatsoever, and wielding the incessant Raven Lance, Granny sought to make a mark. The first Elder Dragon of many. In a long list of achievements, and the beginning of a legacy her coevals could only fantasize about having. What followed that night was a ferocious storm, a vengeful dragon, an intense wind, blood, spit, a bolt of lightning, a mutilation, disabling the dragon's great power, followed by a submission and an execution. the battle was won. And nobody back at Paki fucking cares. Every single one of them is too busy pissing themselves over Tigrex.
Oh my god, Tigrex, you know that Tigrex, your trauma monster, is back in the snowy mountains. Tigrex, it's Tigrex, oh no.
Old man Mentor Hunter informs us that it was at Tigrex's ruthless claw that he was driven to retirement. And if this silver fox of a carbon-based life form couldn't do it, what chance does a living plant creature taking the shape of a human have? I'd wager probably a lot more. Tigrex fast approaches, with the completion of a coal mining quest to power a quote ambush spear cannon, and various quests including this abomination and a lot of small monsters, the villain enters the scene. Absolute power. But Granny's prepared well. She's not the same Weasley little sprout that she was in the beginning. She's a rotin'-totin', traffic-cone-dotin', shantin'-buntin', giant monster huntin', whammin'-jammin', garuga-slammin' monster in her own right. Arriving in the zone to see that El Tigre has claimed yet another victim. He also teleports from the middle of the zone to the edge of the mountain, which is not important at all, and I only bring that up to be a nuisance. Tigrex is a desert-dwelling monster, I think, who migrates to the snowy mountains, I hope, because he likes to eat popos, I like to believe, and is one of the most common ancestors of modern flying wyverns. Allegedly. If you look at the Rathalos in this generation, that's believable. It may sound like I just got hit by a stupid beam, but I promise it's not that. I'm doing my best to talk about Tigrex while simultaneously doing my best to keep Oceaniz from yelling at me. Tigrex is the monster equivalent of strapping teeth to a freight train, his most famous move being his iconic stampede, followed by his roar that is so loud it is capable of causing physical harm to both hunters and the monster himself. The Tigrex Stampede has a nasty lock-on effect when you're far away. And if you do somehow manage to Superman dive out of the way and the goofy tail hitbox of his charge decides to spare you, womp womp, here comes the T-Train back to invert your skin and bones. And for those of you thinking, wow, the Tigrex charge's tail has a hitbox? You know, the attack that is moving the monster away from you and as such shouldn't be doing anything at all? Yes, you heard that right. See, in this generation, if a monster part moves, even the tiniest bit, it can kill you. Even if the monster is moving its tail away from you, the hitbox doesn't see that. Tigrex is especially bad when it comes to chip damage. Him turning to face you does it. Him doing another move and his tail's passive existence during that move does it. Even his idle animation does it. All setting him up perfectly to make his angered phase a living hell. When angered, the Tigrex's veins pop and his eyes turn red, followed by infinity charges. His charge attacks are now much faster, and you are basically always in a two-shot zone. Luckily, the devs knew that if they allowed him to do this 180-degree turn charge move while he was angry, he would be borderline impossible to beat. So instead of turning completely around, the sharpest he can turn is approximately 120 degrees. This is a massive nerf to him. As long as you can dodge the initial charge, there is no shot he's ever going to be able to reach you unless you choke dramatically. When Tigrex is stampeding around in anger, he opens his mouth wide open to gobble up any hunters or palicos in the path. And if his jaws meet a large static object, i.e. a wall, he will get his teeth lodged and will be completely unable to do anything, rendering him absolutely utterly worthless. For me playing Greatsword, this allows just enough time to hit one level 3 charged slash. Tigrex's head is super duper extra weak, and I especially love running Greatsword and getting those select few charge slashes on his face. It always feels so powerful. Most of the time he flinches away in agony. That almost makes up for the 99% of swings that just barely miss because he moved his head at the very last moment. This is also one of the many monsters that become eternally angry, requiring progressively fewer hits to trigger their rage as their health wanes. Yet despite that, and this Gaia Prey's best efforts to the contrary, Granny's sword descended upon the burly snout of the paralyzed Tigrex, vanquishing the beast for good. With the grim brute down for the count, the Paki village elder seized the opportunity to hop up and extract the beast's screamer sack straight from its throat. A tool with the purpose of blasting down the ice wall in the Paki Farms cave, revealing a dark sword of tremendous size. This was the Paki village elder's ancestor's weapon, which I have to imagine used to be a much more reasonable size. It's a hardy piece of equipment, though elder dragon bones seem to have the density to chip away pieces before those pieces grow back on the sword. These pieces are used to make the black weaponry, Dragon weapons back in the days before dragon was an element non-elders could use. Along with the sword, we get a neat bit of information in our library about the village's history. In this book, we get an official name for the Snowy Mountains, the Furahia Mountain Range, a place renowned for its macalite ore. Originally, Paki was a macalite mining village run by the current village chief's ancestor, and was quite famous back in those days. Now, Paki is known for its hot springs, and as a runway for hunters seeking fame and fortune. According to this passage left by what I assume to be this retired hunter, by the way, I killed your rival and it was fucking easy. Monster attacks from Blangos and Blangongas are actually quite common, but talented Paki hunters routinely throw the king of the mountains right back out on his furry butt. The current village chief that founded the village, alongside her 350-year-old spry young brother Treshy, are here in part because they were looking for a nearby treasure. And now that we have the Tigrex Screamer, we may have unlocked that very treasure that they spent so long to find. Anyways, with Tigrex Kablamode, we now have the option to take on 5-star quests. The first one I took on being Check the Ancient Tower, a quest designating the snake bastard, with way too much health, as the target of many bullets. Up here on this peak, a great many battles were fought. Many magnificent monsters and top-class hunters have met their ends here. A thought festered in the back of Granny's mind. Will I be one of them? Those who have met their end in the cold atmosphere of the ancient tower, at the bitter hands of a cruel beast. Not today, thanks to the power of pellet ammo and aiming in the Remobra's general direction. With the leftover skeleton of the Dragon of Steel, Granny gathered dark pieces in order to create the black loot, which funnily enough shreds like an electric guitar. With the weapon in hand, her target now is the Empress of Flame, Lunastra. In this game, she's made so easy, in a couple of ways. For one, she preempts her charge by slowly walking in her chosen direction. Slowly and deliberately putting all her weight on her haunches before springing into a lunge. For 2. And for 3, unlike in Dose, there is actually a color indicator on which distance her explosions will be from her body. Something for some reason people corrected me on, saying that this existed in Dose, which is so true. See, look, that explosion happened far away from her because it's yellow. And that explosion happened close to her because it's red. Isn't that so red? Anyways, watch me die because I couldn't decide which item to swap out for Elder Dragon Blood. Oh, this is a bad time for to give me. Which item do you want to replace? Oh yeah, by the way, you can't do anything. Oh my god. Unsurprisingly, the big blue pushover flew away at the 25-minute mark, allowing for a new dragon to take her spot. Horse. Kieran is a rare monster in the Monster Hunter world, iconic for being extremely fun in every single game appearance. This time, however, I'm nary smiling, chortling, nor guffawing, because they replaced the funny fast horse run with an actual sensible charge, where horse aims with its horn and attempts to gore you. By putting its head close to the ground, it puts its weakest spot close to me, a brain-dead Hammermane, and the bonk zone. When I was a kid playing this game, I was always so confused as to why Lunastra got her own special cutscene at the top of the tower, not knowing at all that this cutscene exists because Lunastra was one of the original big bads of Dose. And this cutscene only happens when you finally discover the whereabouts of the tower after a long, complicated process of gathering pages. With all that being said, this is the same exact Lunastra fight as before, except this time she doesn't waste my time by running to different zones. What is unusual is this quest right here. Small shadow in the swamp. This is big. Unlike the exposed peaks of the snowy mountains, these caves are only minorly chilly, allowing this baby boomer to properly detonate this baby. After this, I did a lot of monster grinding to obtain 3 key weapons: the Raven Tessin, the Kirin Thundersword, and the Sakura Parasol. Dual Blades and Freedom Unite follow a very simple structure. It's like a flowchart. Step 1, drink Mega Dash Juice. Step 2, Heavenly Blade Dance. Step 3, die because your undiagnosed ADHD made you greed for the dumbest Heavenly Blade Dance that you really shouldn't have gone for. Alternatively, there are the non-Mega Dash Juice Dual Bladers that are even simpler. Step 1, Heavenly Blade Dance. Step 2, die because you ran out of stamina and couldn't dodge. In reality, this weapon hijacks the human brain's decision-making ability and you start to think not as a human, but a pair of dual blades. Hey, now's the time to do a Heavenly Blade Dance. Wait, hold on. That would be stupid. We aren't dash juiced. We could die. Yeah, but think of the amazing returns. Thing for shiny Lily until my eyes fall out. Yeah, that sounds about right. Dual blades, how could you guys have led me astray?
Don't blame us for your poor choices. We're just tools.
Right's right. We aren't responsible for this one.
Oh yeah, this situation looks kind of bad. Dual blades!
After crafting the 3 new weapons, Granny makes her way out to the desert for a seed of all misery. War with the particularly petulant, pugnacious, dual-pricked protuberance, Diablos. Donning the garb of his brother Blows, Granny grabbed the pink Punisher, loaded it with pellet ammo, and committed atrocities on the Blows kind that would make bloodbath's blood burn. One game ago, this monster was timing out children shamelessly, going all the way up to 50 minutes and not dying. But with the pink Punisher, this Diablos died in 13 minutes. 13 minutes on Gen 2 Diablos. This weapon is broken. The punishment continued against Black Diablos, who died in just 18 minutes, knocking out 2 of the biggest fear factors with great ease. And after finishing up, for some reason, required dual daimyo for what I suppose is a really, really hungry man. The next monster is Gravios. Gravios is a hulking titan of a monster, who's only hard in the most literal sense. Everything that touches this monster gets deflected. That is why I'm carrying a bow. I genuinely do not know what's more sleep-inducing, old-gen bow gameplay or old-gen bow gun gameplay. With bow, you stand there and draw back until it hits your desired level and then you shoot, whereas bow gun has you switching between ammos and conserving different shot types. I think a bow might just barely take the cake. I know it has arrow coatings and stuff, but the weapon works fine even without them. Congratulations on being the best sleep aid. Paired with epic, thrilling Gravios gameplay, and hoo boy, I'm gonna sleep so good tonight. In DOS, you used to be able to lame out Gravios by standing on this ledge and pelting him with infinity bullets. In this game, you are completely unable to climb up there, which I understand why, but fuck you. Actually engaging with the monster isn't that much different anyways. Honestly, the worst part of this quest for me was the crab duo. These 2 crustaceans are so relentless in their attacks and just would not leave me alone. For all the things that changed between DOS in this game, some things just didn't. After the Gravios quest that took 20 minutes but felt more like 11 hours, it's time for Black Gravios in the swamp. I'm not gonna lie, I wish I kept bow. Chameleos is the 3rd of the Village Elder trio to make an appearance in the quest pool. And I would like to emphasize that only in the quest pool did he make an appearance, because he did not in the hunt. Get it? It's a Chameleos, so it doesn't make an appearance. It spends most of its time invisible.
Hey man, if you have to explain the joke, then it's usually not very funny.
I know you're not very funny, but man, that was just cringy.
Shut up, guys. It was to distract them from the part where I brought poison dual blades against a poison monster.
Oh man, you're dumb as shit.
I don't know why, but they gave Chameleos a monstrous amount of health in every single game he's in. And it makes me wonder, if he's an animal that uses camouflage, shouldn't he be kinda easier to kill? Hence the camouflage. Like, imagine a grizzly bear that can go invisible. It's like, shit bro, you can already rip me to shreds. Is it really necessary that I can't see you? I promise that my choice in weapon for this hunt was very intentional. Chameleos' hide is extremely tough for some reason. Again, imagine that grizzly bear from earlier that can go invisible. Now he's got a flak jacket. But the dual blades' heavenly blade dance has built-in mind's eye, meaning no weapon bounce. Sure, that leads to a lot of weapon sharpening, but that means I can try to cut the tail without consequence, and shred his very weak hind legs efficiently.
Well, that sounds like something of a strategy. I can't believe it.
You're right, it's crazy.
Thank you for the kind words, Left Raven Tessin. I think I can confirm this is the most brain usage a dual blades user has ever done in the history of Monster Hunter. The drawback to dual blades is Chameleos' fuck your stamina move, which makes this weapon more useless than just throwing 99 rocks. Luckily, I have my secret weapon, Lori. Chameleos can be shocked out of invisibility with loud noises, and a palico that does nothing but huck explosives serves this function greatly. With the Dragon of the Mist slain, Pocky Granny sends us on our next expedition, a troublesome pair, Rathalos and Raytheon. Rathalos was once Proto-Tigrex. This dude would do nothing but charge in the olden days, so I figured that now that Tigrex is actually in the game, they'd make Rathalos do something else. And I could not have been more mistaken. Rathalos' charge is actually scarier than Tigrex's too, because of how fucking often he does it, as well as how fast he moves and the crazy damage. Equipped on Granny is the Tigrex Greatsword, one of the best greatswords in the entire game. Unupgraded, it has the power to break a wing and sever a tail in one singular swing. The tail part I'm playing a second time because I'm very proud of it. Greatsword is exceptional anti-Rathalos technology, as every single time he's in the air it is super easy to time a charge slash on his face. And then there's the other one, Rathian. Rathian is also super easy to pick apart with charged slashes, rendering this quest easy as all hell. Now everybody, We're getting to the point where the end of low rank is nigh, and I decided that I'd have a little fun with the fashion. Fashion hunting in these olden days was really tough because they still had the system in place where you'd have to get 10 points in a skill to have that skill actually activate. So the fashion hunters among us were usually forced to choose between looks and functionality. However, there's a rare cross-section where you can squeeze out a unique mixed armor set with good skills and a unique look. This is what I came up with. For functionality, it has both sharpness and wind pressure resistance. Given my constraints, I'm actually quite proud of what I managed to pull together here. I think it looks really good. After confirming the new set's functionality on some crabs, we have our next big boy ready in Tiastra. Tiastra is significantly harder than the Nostra due to this one difference. Can you guess what it is? Ow. Can do is charge from a standstill. As we've seen time and time again, one of the most effective attacks to deal with hunters is moving forward fast.
So many monsters were doing it, they decided they would make a monster based on it.
I know I've talked about how this game is easier than DOS in a lot of ways, but there is one difference that makes specifically the Elder Trio significantly harder. In that, unlike in DOS, you can't hammer stun loop them at infinitum anymore. One of the saving graces in Monster Hunter DOS no longer works. And, well, that's okay. The next quests were more of the same. Wrath but blue, wrath but pink, fish but 2 of them, blows but 2 of them. Cat was hired, a crab but Lao Shanlung. Shengaran the Fortress Crab, whose name apparently means godly tall man in Chinese, according to the fandom wiki. This bastard is the entire reason why Granny is wearing the traffic cone on her head. Bla Nagana armor grants tremor resistance, and when you resist tremors, this fight goes from the most annoying fight in the game to the second most boring, which is a colossal improvement, actually. The interesting part of this quest is that it takes place in Dundorma, Monster Hunter DOS's city, and it has the same shops that you can loot for the battle. Don't feel rushed while looting because, as is tradition with all these old gen big guys, Shengaran takes a whole 4 minutes before he's actually in the zone, so thanks for that, champ. One of my favorite mechanics ever is the roaming elder dragons putting cities into a state of disarray and needing to go out and intercept those bastards. This is something that I can only really remember ever happening again with World, where Zora Magdaros, Xenojiva, or Shara Ishvalda would periodically reappear and the town's music would become ominous to reflect that. But I miss the drama of seeing the entire town stopping what they're doing and shutting themselves indoors because a living force of nature has arrived to rip them apart. Wilds also has Jindahad and Zosha periodically returning, but they just show up on the map and it doesn't really change anything. At least those games actually have a system like that in place. Here, Dundorma in the battle quarters is just another quest location. Like every time someone accepts this Shengaran quest, a new Shengaran is just dragged in or enticed by a giant dead snail. The way to fight Shengaran is completely unchanged. Hit a leg, it turns red, hit other leg. Once every leg is red, hit the legs until they're very red. Something that I find weird about this monster is that its weakest point is inside its shell, i.e. the place that you can't hit unless you're a gunner. His most accessible weak point is his weird crab belly, which I used to think his most accessible weak point was his face, because the game has you go through so many hurdles to get his face in attacking range, having to get a leg knocked down, but no, it's his crab belly, the part of his body that's almost always in range when he's lowered down. Why? Anyways, Shengaran is Shengaran, the crab with the greatest death animation in the series, treating us to the almighty crab face plant. Before moving on to the next part of the video, I noticed something while gathering footage for Shengaran, in that if you for some reason decide to skip gathering supplies and just book it to the battlefield, if you're there early enough, you can find Shengaran peppering Dundorma from afar, launching giant acid bombs over a frankly terrifying distance. You're telling me I could be just chilling in my Toyota Camry and this crab from half a continent away could just fucking nuke me? I felt like highlighting this because it's a piece of missable content that makes this world just feel so alive. It adds so much character to a monster whose only trait otherwise is he big crab. It's one thing to read about how this monster is an utter menace on a warpath, but actually witnessing in gameplay how it intelligently wears down its targets from afar is just amazing. God, I love this series so much. The Pocky Elders quest pool has nearly run dry, with that being the final urgent needing taken care of, leaving a few quests to be picked off. Among these quests, the Old Mountain Dragon. Lao Shanlong. The scared old man will stop at nothing to ram through the fort protecting Dundorma, and it's up to this overqualified cruciferous cretin to take care of it, throughout the span of 30 minutes of mindless mashing. I think this takes the cake for my second least favorite fight in the entire series, beaten only by Shengaran with no tremor resistance. Speaking of tremor resistance, did you know Lao does not cause tremors? Instead of tremors, this flat-footed fuck creates strong gusts of wind with every footfall, rendering the traffic cone armor set entirely worthless for this fight. Luckily, my Fashion Hunter set did have wind resistance and came in crazy clutch. After 35 minutes of fun, the quest ended with the old mountain dragon running in terror, which I can't entirely blame him for. But that wouldn't be the last Lao Shanlong, as there was something Granny wanted. In a vault recovered from a cave deep in the jungle laid an old weathered parchment, the text upon which told of a revolutionary piece of weaponry, crafted with many toes of the moving sacred mountain. This piece of weaponry being the Toenail of Doom, and upon the felling of the third dragon, Granny had herself her own iteration of this weapon. Following the great Lao slaying, the Pocky Granny referred Granny Veggie to her acquaintance, Nekot, her armless, allegedly, compadre who issues a warning. Her quests aren't for the faint of heart. Her quests will be the truest test of skill, wits, and strength. And in order to work for her, Granny has to complete a trial of sorts against an unfamiliar orange bird. This is Ameni's first introduction to the Great Forest. A place packed to the gills with flora and fauna, with a massive tree punctuating the center point. One thing you'll notice about this map is that it is completely gorgeous. Everything about it is vibrant and alive and moving, and at the northernmost point of the Great Forest is a lake, at the shore of which our target, the Hypnocatrice, awaits. This monster originated in Monster Hunter: The Frontier, the Z-Ed, whose claim to fame in that game is turning white and being fucking insane. A monster that bellows a soporific gas with a torpifying effect on those who inhale it. In other words, he make you very sleepy. Honk, me, and such. My current feline comrade is one that I hired right before the Shengaran fight. Mai is a brave, tea-colored, supposedly, feline that supposedly attacks with mainly weapon. Supposedly. She's also known for taking naps on the job and doesn't need a bird to make her do that. Fun fact, the Velociprey that the orange bird puts to sleep stay loaded in after the cutscene and wake up later. And when they do that, they will gladly jump the fuck out of the closest geriatric. Amidst the slew of hateful hogs, drowsy gas, secretary bird-style jump kicks, a new obstacle reared its head in Mai's barrel bombs. Mai is here to put the boom in Boomer, and will happily do that when there are no monsters in the area or the monsters on the other side of the map list. Where were you? Guys, we just got on camera real footage of Mai not even pretending to throw the bomb at Bizarrios. That was made specifically for me. For now, though, she's a simple level 2 Palico that got recruited on a really hard quest, and obviously doesn't want to be here. After embarrassingly misinputting a whetstone, I failed the quest and realized that, hold on, Monster Hunter Freedom Unite might actually be pretty fucking hard. And the only reason things have been easy up until that point was because it was low rank. Oh, how right I turned out to be. The run back with the rectangular prism went a lot smoother, and the orange beast fell in about 20 minutes. Mai, why are you orange? After being humbled by the orange bird, the next chapter of Granny's journey can properly begin. Monster Hunter Freedom Unite did something awesome and decided that since they could, they re-implemented every Monster Hunter 1 map. The first I personally encountered being the Old Swamp. Playing through these, it's kind of obvious to see that the Monster Hunter devs made the Gen 2 maps by looking at the first gen maps and saying, yeah, we can do better. The thing that doesn't really get translated over to the second generation maps, though, was the fucking atmosphere of these older maps. Look at how dark and dreary and desolate this swamp is, with those dark and mysterious towers or the thick fog permeating the area. The first generation of games had a much darker, edgier feel to it, which I like a whole lot. And my favorite part of this map is the donut area. The subject of this quest is a Gypsaros. Though unlike low-rank Gypsaros, this monster has a slight alteration to his kit. When you break a normal Gypsaros's crest, its flash attack becomes unusable. which is great because he'll still go for it as if the crest is still there, allowing a lot of free extra damage. Makes sense. You interact with the game's part-breaking system and you get rewarded for it. In high rank, if his crest is broken, he farts out a massive poison cloud that does a lot of damage and devours your health. High rank Gypsyros fucking punishes you for interacting with the part-breaking system. Sensational. He also has the same super disruptive stampede attack for this swamp, except it wastes even more time because this stampede hits every corner of this area. What an amazing monster. I really had so much fun this time. After this, I went to clean up the last bits of low rank, throwing down with the low rank Emperor of Flame one last time. A quest that Mai continually insisted on doing nothing in. A quest that ended up taking like 3 minutes, leaving one final quest. An invitation from a man in red. This is the low-rank dual Rajang quest. Here to punish those completionists among us with a terrible time. This monkey hits harder than any elder dragon. And this is just the baby brother. The other brother, who's always loaded in for some reason and is completely visible, is up there. I fainted twice before Big Boy stepped in. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If I fainted to this monster already, statistically speaking, a version of that monster that is 2 times the size should grind me into a fine paste. Not to mention that they're both in the same zone. And wow, exactly that. But you know what they say, when the going gets hard, get harder. Strapped with an umbrella, a Mai, and a death wish, Granny accepted the Scarlet Mystery Man's quest once again and sought to fight the twin Golden Lions again. The result varied from last time. The bowgun's ranged capabilities allowed for safer shots, even if the armor is weaker. As long as we can beat the first one before the other wakes up. Well, fuck. Okay, but it's still not over. The gun is renowned for its pellet ammo, good for multiple monsters at once. Now, if Mai could get the anchors out of her pants and stop loafing around, oh my god. It was tactical. At this point, the game becomes less about hunting monsters and more about survival. Thankfully, while Big Jang was busy jumping face first into a wall, Little Jang was able to be safely disposed of. The resulting fight was scary as fuck. Big Dude's fists were thicker than tree trunks, and there were a great many a moment where it seemed like it would be all over. Granny's fate hung on a string, and every time it shook, it was steadied by a well-placed roll. Or luck. Mostly luck. Or the giant anger monkey targeting the bastard cat. Also, this happened. Boy, that sure was close. After fainting again and coming back to wall, Big J was safely disposed of, leaving him with a burly little jetpack to spoon. With that out of the way, Granny has completed every single one of the Pocky Elder's quests, earning her the Village Elder's coat. A symbol signifying her achievement of 100%ing Village low rank, meaning Granny can now wholly set her gaze on Village high rank. The next high rank quest being the Beating of Royal Wings, featuring a Freedom Unite exclusive monster, the Vespoid Queen. To get her Royal Highness to spawn, she must first be properly lured out by endangering her family. It is required to drop 25 Vespoids before she comes out. Also, Velociraptor's here because why not? A great many Vespoids later and the Queen spawns, who immediately splurges her royal juices all over Mai. This is a novel fight, but it really is kind of just a really big Vespoid. There are 2 moves she does that are pretty unique though. The first being the aforementioned corrosive splurge attack that lowers defense, and the second being her figure 8 dance, moving in a pattern similar to how bees move when communicating with their hive, followed by a sting. This dance launches all nearby Vespoids into simultaneous action. If only that meant something to me. A light bowgun user with pellet ammo. As you can probably guess, pellet ammo bowguns shit all over this monster, so the Pink Punisher made short work of her. The next interesting quest faces us off against a tribe of Shakalaka, with their king hidden from sight. The music that plays during this is really funny because it was remixed in The Witcher 3 for the Skellige area, and then that remixed theme gets brought back to Monster Hunter in The Witcher 3 crossover event where you fight a Leshen in world. What a weird turn of events. After beating up a bunch of the little ones, the chief of the tribe, Shakalaka King, makes his appearance wielding a meat, donning a barbecue spit. This guy is a beast, able to hurl burning coals at you that do more damage than wyvern breath, hitting like a truck and being really hard to hit overall. And that's before we mention the battalion of Shakalakas constantly spawning in to attack. He's also equipped with sleep gas grenades because he needs them. This is one of my favorite and most sorely missed monsters out of all of them. Not this monster specifically, but like monsters like the King Shakalaka. The King Shakalaka was never really brought back past this, which I think is a darn shame, but it was kind of brought back in Monster Hunter World with the Gajalaka Chief. Unfortunately, that wasn't a proper monster. It was actually side content for the aforementioned Witcher crossover thing, where Geraldo Rivero gets to fight the Gajalaka Chief. What is it with you and your connection to Monster Hunter lineans? Also, am I the only one that's bummed out that there's no proper Gajalaka Chief or Boa Boa Chief or anything of the like in World or after? Like, one could spawn in after you nay a bunch of Gajalakas or something. That would be so cool. The boss is right there. It literally exists, yet they don't use it. And I think that's just so sad. But rant aside, I just really wish this series did more with these intelligent, small humanoid monsters. The Shakalaka King isn't a required target for this quest, but his tribe is. But just for the fun of it, I tried to kill him during the quest, and just barely managed to succeed in my mission, killing him moments before the quest complete screen at the very end. The small monsters continue ravaging the baby arena in Carnivore Carnival. Here we're tasked to slay 20 Velociprey, but every other prey, including Gaia, Gen, and 227th place is here. And every time a raptor is killed, a new raptor is spawned in a set order, and will occupy the spawn cap until killed. So instead of a 20 Velociprey quest, it's more of a 20 Velociprey, 20 Gaia Prey, 20 Gen Prey, and 20 227th place praise. Epic. Cephadrome in the Old Desert. Every monster now has at least one new move, but with the Cephadrome, I have no fucking clue what it is. Every time my brain conjures up an image of high-rank Cephadrome, that picture involves the dude swimming in the other direction. According to Old Desert Town Mayor, this fish has been killing people left and right. Oh, the humanity. And I'm like, damn, if this kills you, you probably deserve to die. The Old Desert is weird because for some reason they decided this was going to be remastered for Monster Hunter 4. Monster Hunter 4, the game that brought back Dundorma, which could have remastered and brought back the Gen 2 Desert, which is much more iconic and, you know, is a second generation map tied to Dundorma. They actually did do a pretty good job with the remaster though, because this map is weird. The sandy areas are colossal, and the sunken area is specifically for Plesioth, which we'll talk a bit more about later. And because there are so many places where you can just walk off the map, they implemented this weird system where if that place you walk off doesn't take you to a different zone, it just places you back in the middle of the current zone. Anyways, that's weird. And Cephadrome is Cephadrome. The Old Jungle is a gorgeous map. It has some of my favorite areas, including the fast-flowing rapids, the distant falls, the wet chasm with the low poly lobster, and a really cool and wet cave. Heh, wet cave. Get it? With Khezu inside the wet cave? While I've never personally spoken to a woman before in my life, I would have to assume that one would find this a hilarious euphemism. This map also has that weird forest and hills thing, where there's this one area that feels like a sort of sanctuary from the dangers of nature. Outside, there are dangers, but in here, nothing can hurt you. It's one of the few zones in the series where you are out, away from camps and civilization, entirely immersed in the beauty of nature, and yet there's still no danger to be seen. Hey look, a snake. I really love how wet this locale is. There's water in all but 3 zones. Hey, water conducts electricity, so shouldn't I get fried as soon as this Khezu does any electrical attack? Probably. Oh well, let's not give the naked chicken any more buffs than he deserves. His new move is this fanning out lightning ball attack, which must have taken them forever to think and draft up in code. He might have more new attacks, but it's Khezu. He prefers to stand in place and shock, so I couldn't tell you, I haven't seen him. Following this quest was Red Khezu. Mai, what are you doing? Conga Lala.
Good thing we're fans.
That's right, you can waft away the fart fumes. That's not even a game mechanic. What are you talking about? Oh, shut up and take your medication. My Oh, that's right. Let's do our best against this conga, guys. Daimyo Hermitar. Mai, get back! Yayan Fuck! Azarios. No, I'm sorry, little guy. And finally, the Urgent. The monster duo that could potentially put a wall right in my face. The high-rank dual Monoblos quest. Shiver me timbers. Now, there is an excellent weapon that could stop the charging Blos duo effortlessly. But the thing is, 4 Red Khezus solemnly stand between Granny and that weapon. And that is not very fun, so I decided to gun it with the low-rank gun, Brella. And here's how it went. Two high-rank Monoblos killed in 15 minutes and 21 seconds with a low-rank bowgun. How balanced. But dual Monoblos failed in, green Plesioth flourished in, as his next quest was completely miserable. For starters, these fish cannot leave zones with this river, which means there are only 2 zones that they can be. And because they can only be in these 2 zones, they are almost always attached at the hip. What's worse, Plesioth is gargantuan and terrible to fight in this zone, as there's so little space to move. There's also such limited visibility due to the dense vegetation, as well as the fact that this dude is the size of an iceberg, willing to sink your ship. This zone is where you want to throw down with the fish, as there's plenty of space to move around and dodge, and there's a safety ledge. There is a drawback to this zone though, that being that unfortunately, there's also this singular bastard Vespoid that constantly stabs any sweaty bowgun main that it lays its abdomen on. This insect may have given me more grief than the actual fish. And when the fish in question are these 2, that's really saying something. The Pink Punisher does have rapid fire thunder ammo, and that's a great Plesioth check, but it didn't keep me from failing the quest. It's just genuinely a tough fight, so for morale I had to speak to my moral guide. Master Lobster, what must I do to defeat the Fey Duo?
Granny my child, kau mesti meracuni Vespoid itu untuk membeli ruang yang cukup bagi menyerang ikan itu.
Thank you, Master. What would I do without you?
Pergi dari pandanganku, dasar bayam sial.
Heeding the wise old lobster's advice, I used what remained of my poison bullets on the Vespoid, causing the Neopteron's body not to shatter, allowing for an instant respawn, but to fall lamely to the ground, allowing for ample time to fight the Fey in peace. After a long and effortful fight, the second Plesioth went down in the river,
successfully robbing me of my carve rewards. Thank you, Vespoid, it's been an honor. Unfortunately, that's not the last Plesioth of the tier, as we got one in the old desert. This fight is cool and weird because this area is designed around Plesioth. He can swim around to the other side through this underwater tunnel, he can sail over and land in the adjacent body of water, and he can say, fuck it, I'm not going to interact with you. I'm just going to swim deep and go to the other side of the arena. The technique his dusty brother mastered. And now, here we are, on another Plesioth quest. Yes, there's another one. Apparently an airship made a crash landing and there's a Monoblos afoot threatening them. There's also a Plesioth chilling in the lake, minding his own business, I guess. Wait, why do we have to kill this thing? Monoblos I get, but Plesioth is just chilling in a lake. Neko, for fuck's sake, I'm killing fish for no reason at this point. Please tell me there's no more. Wow, what a well-designed hitbox.
Granny my child, tahu anda akan selesai dengan ancaman pisai.
Master Lobster, I'm trying! Yayan Garuger. This one's come pre-scarred. Being the total rarity that he is, Yayan Garuger is prone to appear mangled with scars from prior hunters trying to become celebrities, off the back of a dead celebrity. Epic joke. As such, they often come as hardened killers. This one has a new move in this lunge, where he sticks his face in the ground, shrieking like a doofus. Or any Monster Hunter player hearing for the first time that my favorite game is World. I don't know why I just thought of this, but I can't stop thinking about it. If Yayan Garuga was a tool you'd find in a toolbox, he'd be a pair of needle-nose pliers. I can't explain why, he just is. Anyways, with the numerous Plesioth parts gathered, the marine fisher became the deep ocean. And the deep ocean... The deep ocean was swell. With that, we head out to defeat Kashala Deora. But not just any Kashala, rusted Kashala Deora. Having rusty, oxidized scales is an extremely uncomfortable process for the dragon, resulting in him attacking the town, I think. Besides having brown, rusted, steely scales, is he really any different at all than regular Kashala? No. Lunastra is dead. At this point, we're pretty deep into quests and monsters that we've seen and covered, and I don't really have much to add for most of them. This Bizarrios does introduce something new though, the old volcano. As is customary for the Monster Hunter 1 maps, the ambience of the old volcano is extraordinary. There's impossibly tall stalagmites and stalactites off in the far distance, with lakes and rivers of flowing molten lava intermittently strewn about. It almost looks like Terraria's hell. The sound design of this place is also incredibly ominous. There's the fast-flowing, bubbling lava contrasted with a deep, low, droning sound. It gets the point across. This place is not inviting to anything alive, especially not a human. This is nature at its cruelest, and the denizens evolved as a byproduct of this cruelty. I love the extremely stark contrast you can see back at base camp. Look away from the volcano and there's flora, life, and water, the seedbed from which all life emerged. But there's no path to go that way. And then you turn around. Desolation. No plant life, sharp crags, and a scorching reminder that at any moment, nature can take whatever it gave us back. And it'll send not explosive lava or toxic gas, but 2 really angry pigs. And then there's Bazarios. Upon triggering the Bazarios' fight, the music explodes to life. Though unlike a lot of melodic Monster Hunter themes, there's almost no melody to be found in this one. It's fast-paced and explosive. Almost wrathful in a way. So many Monster Hunter themes have a repetition to it, like a back and forth, kind of like a fight. But this has nothing like that. This doesn't say fight. This says run. This says survive. Leave this place before you too wither into a pile of ash and soot. Despite getting an A+ in atmosphere, the actual level design leaves a lot to be desired, as the zones here are either enormous, empty open areas or purposefully obnoxious to traverse because of lava. There are 3 zones here that look almost identical to each other, just big open areas with some lava pools. That's pretty lame, but it seems they've learned their lesson with the following volcano in Gen 2. Because even though the Gen 2 volcano has a lot of cavernous, underground, lava-y areas, every area is very memorable and very distinct from the others, except for maybe the first 2. My favorite part, though, has to be the volcanic crater that endlessly spews this molten tornado vortex of lava. It's so strange and unnatural, but this sort of ethereal impossibility adds to the mystique of the volcano. This area also has really good mining outcrops, probably the best in the game, and at the furthest point, a plant. The furthest gathering spot away in the last unlockable map, and from it can be gathered the dragon seed. The game goes out of its way to specify that dragons loathe this thing. Is it useful? No. This map also has naturally occurring rock formations that Bazarios could reasonably camouflage himself as and fool you. The only map in the series that does this, and that's cool. That's not going to save him though. Ashen, Lausch, and Lunch, because I ate him for brunch. Dual Hypnocatrice. Monsters I slept on in the most literal sense. Lunastra. Ow. The next interesting quest is one that takes place in the arena, as it's been overflown with Remambres. Hey, would you looky who it is? Iagrome, here to suck the enjoyment out of the quest just like he does everywhere else his spawn occupies. I could have just killed 20 Remambres, but wanted to hopefully clean the gene pool of this pest in the hopes that he never appears ever again. By now you may notice I've gotten quite the upgrade in armaments. High-rank Shogun Sianatar armor, increasing weapon sharpness and attack at the cost of defense. Perfect for this next fight, where we'll be taking on the Shadow of the Great Forest. The former 3rd most beloved monster ever, and the flagship of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, Nargacuga, who's hitting the dislike button on 2 of the most recent PakPak videos. In other words, an entire year's worth of uploads. You bastard, I won't be letting you get away with this. Nargacuga might just be not only one of the most fun fights in Freedom Unite, but I think the most well-designed. It's an incredibly fast monster that keeps you on your toes, and despite this speed, it never ever feels unfair. You have a few frames of invincibility on your roll, and it just so happens that a lot of its biggest attacks are so fast that with great timing, you can roll right through them and come out unpunished, while still keeping other attacks that require good positioning and not just reflexes. He also leaves lots of openings to sink damage on him, most often after a huge sequence of attacks. This is one of those monsters that really rewards players that understand timing, spacing, themselves, and the monster. And for all those reasons, I love it. Nargacuga is a flying wyvern renowned for its speed and stealth. Most of the time, you won't even realize a Nargacuga is in pursuit until your head is already rolling on the ground, cleaved off by its bladed wings that it uses to... Wait, hold on.
Oh.
Stop telling me I'm wrong about the cat! It's driving me crazy! Anyways, Nargacuga is, wait. What is a cat?
Well, the Nargacuga is a fierce, predatory flying wyvern that uses advanced tactics to ambush its prey. For example, one thing that many people might not know is that it can vibrate its wing blades to create a whirring sound to then use as echolocation. Using tactics such as these, it is an extremely successful predator. It was originally discovered in the east of the Monster Hunter world after the Hunters Guild discovered various native tribes using mysterious black scales and feathers in their armors. and subsequently they discovered the Nargacuga. What we see in game is actually just one type of Nargacuga, the pure black one, but they actually come in many different colors, such as blue, white, or brown. In fact, the pure blue type is considered the rarest one of all, with a chance of about 0.1% of them appearing.
Damn, bro. That's cool, I guess. Anyways, I'll catch you on the flip side. Yeah, you have a... Anyways, with this monster being a kitty cat, supposedly, it is sensitive to loud noises. It sure would be a shame if there was a certain feline comrade that insists upon throwing as many bombs as possible, ensuring that this cat stays enraged at infinitum. I knew Mai would be a liability, and that is why for this first fight, I decided to take Summer instead. Summer would never huck a bomb. After a long battle, a scarred eye, a severed tail, ship damage, goofy hitboxes leading to internal organ damage, my supplies finally get delivered. Oh, and the monster died. With the cat downed, the other cat grants permission to the final tier of village quests, the 9-star quests. Among them, the infamous dual Tigrex quest, dual metal wraths, dual black graves, dual black bloses, an evil king, and a really, really big crab. And that's not all. For Neko hides something even more sinister in her big giant coat. Some call it a god, some call it a total douche. And then after that, the final challenge. One only a true monster hunter can say they've beaten. I first grappled with the dual Tigrex quest, one of the most infamous quests in Monster Hunter history. One stampeding beast on the relatively small peak is already difficult. Doubling the amount of stampedes just makes the resulting quest exponentially harder. Now pair that with the fact that this dynamic duo really loves to stick together and you've got a pretty diabolical quest. Now extrapolate all that with my great number of epic greysword moments, and moments like this. Hello, Tigrex. Welcome. Oh, I'm so glad to see you here, especially at a time like this. Yes, that's the move that I wanted to see you do. Yes, and that's the move that I wanted to see you do. And that's the move. Why? They just know. Stampede, stampede, stampede. He's on the back foot. Stampede, stampede. Yes! We killed the grandmother. Then, of course, what follows is the oh-so-miserable climb all the way back up the mountains. I don't know if there's a more soul-crushing walk of shame in this whole damn series. When I was a kid, I was certain that there had to be some kind of shortcut up to the top, like a trap door that opens up and pops you out somewhere near the peak. But no, put your climbing shoes on, asshole. After killing the first Tigrex, I successfully failed the quest and had to start over from the very beginning. And on the second quest, I came prepped with a new strategy. Don't be a fucking idiot and kill the stupid dinosaur cat thing, plural. And it went a lot smoother. A key change to the strategy on the run back was not even entertaining the Tigrexes in the same area. That is like putting your head in the jaws of a crocodile. You're begging to get it torn off. Once the first Tigre died, the other one followed suit, ending one of the nastiest quests that Nekot has to offer on my second attempt. Believe it or not, the next problem quest is this one, a singular Rathalos. That alone isn't bad, but the Gen 1 volcano makes it absolutely atrocious. Whenever the Rathalos flies away, that's 3 minutes of wasted time as you run to catch up with him. And a lot of the time when you are in the same zone as him, he's not even touching the ground. And if he is touching the ground, he's waist deep in molten lava. This quest, and by extension the old volcano, is a pretty miserable experience. And then there's the Furious Hellpigs, of course. This is far from their natural environment, but their sheer anger insulates them from the intense volcanic heat. This quest with this one Rathalos took 10 minutes longer than the quest where I had to beat 2 Tigrexes. I think that says more than words ever could. The next potential problem 8-star quest was Blanagna and Tigrex, which Granny Vegetable had a perfect counter for. That weapon being the Purse Bop. This weapon growls and squeals with every movement, making me deeply viscerally uncomfortable. The mindset being that maybe beating these monsters with this thing will make them so upset that they would simply want to die. This paradigm would prove truthful, as Blanagna drew its last breath just 5 minutes after making contact. Soon after the Titanic-sized Tigrex makes an appearance. You probably have generational trauma, actually. You guys do. Hey, what's that shadow supposed to... Ugh! The Titanic Tigre, unsurprisingly, did not go down very easily, and I failed the quest in a rather disappointing way. Out of anger, I gave a feline a colossal bomb and sent him into a cave to collect minerals. And from them, I received a valuable Nova Crystal, a reference to someone, no doubt. Anyways, I went into the run back with the goal of simply not throwing to easy monsters that I've already beaten, and the resulting hunt went off without a hitch. Narga, but again, the limited visibility of the old jungle lends well to the invisible predator, but beyond that, it's just an ordinary Narga fight. The next quest comes from a wounded hunter. A quest entitled The One-Horned Demon King. One day at Capcom, the developers decided they were going to have a bit of fun, and added in a colossal one-horned Diablos with G-rank health and attack power at the end of high rank. The result was this abomination, which would kick off a trend of the Monster Hunter devs traumatizing and abusing this monster so it can reach its maximum power in like 3 other games. Diablos are at the very top of the desert hierarchy, mainly thanks to their horns. But there are quite a few things that could cause one or both of these horns to break, ending the monster's reign as a ruler. One cause is poaching. Diablos horns are quite valuable, so they're prone to falling victim to many poaching attempts by hunters with titanium testicles. The other cause for a horn break is other monsters, a territorial dispute, domestic violence, or God forbid, an even more impossibly strong predator makes an appearance. These can all make a horn go bye-bye. Once it loses a horn, it loses its spot in the Diablos hierarchy, rendering him holeless. This is what Zero Puss does to an MF. Without its crowning feature, a Diablos will tend to give up, having lost its #1 weapon to defend its territory. But other Diablos have a little more fire in them. They begin rage maxing, becoming the strongest, angriest, and most dominant monster to ever grace the dunes. Basically, incel rage. So some Diablos get devoured by their circumstances when they lose one or both of their horns, while others have shown to adapt to their terrible circumstances and let the pain elevate them to heights no other Diablos has gone. The Bloodbath Diablos, for example. When its horn was poached, it regrew malformed with hatred, as did a burning resentment for all humankind, becoming the strongest deviant monster to ever live. It isn't known exactly what the One-Horned Demon King's backstory is or what broke its horn, but there are some brief mentions in lore that I think point to its existence. The main one being this page in the first Monster Hunter Illustrations book, depicting an enormous Diablos with a crimson red shell. This could be our Demon King before losing his horn and being coated in blood. That's just speculation though. The only relevant thing to this story is whether or not our completely broken high-rank Parasol, the Peach Pounder, is capable of felling the Demon King. It is a complete mystery if a high-rank gun can even hope to beat this tank's G-rank health pool. But after 35 minutes, we receive our first inkling of hope. This came in the form of the Diablos Instant Enrage. Certain monsters have a system in place where they get progressively easier to enrage as their health dwindles. We talked about this earlier with Tigrex, though Diablos, Monoblos, and Kezu are all part of this system. Usually when a monster like this only takes 1 hit to enrage after just being done being enraged, that means they're running low on health. But that's not always the case, as some monsters can still have a lot of health left, and the Demon King could very well be one of those monsters. Still, this is a sign of progress, and if there's anything Granny needs is hope. Hope that the rage will be quelled. For Granny, it is personal. This is a creature of meat that eats cacti, a plant. So if not for the advancement of her career, then for her people, she would not stop until the king was defeated. And after seeing that the quest would end soon... Oh my god. Thank God. Thank God, it's over! Demon King, I'm the Demon King now. That crown belongs to me! What do you mean that was only a silver crown? After killing the king of their kind, the Black Diablos duo in the old desert was pitifully easy, ending at around 20 minutes. Just based off that metric, this one dude is the equivalent of 4.5 Black Diablos. Chill the fuck out, horse. For some reason, this horse was beefing so hard with Mai, probably sensing the endless malice and hatred. I like when the horse goes to the very edge of Area 4 and submerges himself entirely. Wet horse. After equine extermination comes birds. Nothing really happened on this quest besides Mai shelving her infinite hatred and saving me twice, so thanks for that, I guess. Yayan Garuger. The next quest was Sand Dunes Might, featuring these 3 monsters and the angriest Apsaros I have ever seen. It took me forever to drop this Monoblos with the Greatsword, and I think that goes to show just how hard the Peach Pounder carried me against these monsters. Next, Blue Rathalos, trying to impress the giant pink Huzz. So I killed the Huz to force the blue guy to lose all meaning in life. After being put on suicide watch, I spent 10 minutes searching for the blue guy, and in my infinite mercy decided to graciously finish him off. And he sit there staring out over the forests and hills skybox, no doubt contemplating the point of his life without the Huz. Finally, new monster. Kind of. The silver sun forever illuminates the tower with its wintry light, giving hunters a really good workout because this dude doesn't fucking stay still. Silver Rathalos in this game actually does have hard scales, and isn't just Rathalos but again. I love new things, so what new attacks does he have? Gold Rathian, just like her silver hubby, has hard metallic scales. Because this is a purebred Rathian, this fight is actually kind of fun. Hey guys, did you know that when designing every monster in these early games, they used Rathian as a base? She was the first ever monster designed and programmed, so it kind of makes sense as to why Rathian is kind of fun, whereas Rathalos and Gravios have some kind of stiffness to them. Same with Kutku and Gypsaros. At least I'm assuming. I'm assuming this is all the case. The final challenge that the Wraths have in store for us takes place in the Old Swamp, where the Silver Sol and the Golden Loon have chosen to make their final stand against Granny Vegetable, who plans on spreading the good word of her kind to all the natives without their consent. When she's in this purple haze of the Old Swamp, Gold Rathian looks kinda green around the gills, whereas Silver Rathalos looks beautiful. He looks perfect for the Old Swamp. Something about the Silver Wyvern feels so right in this fog, with the derelict towers and the, what grass is this? Is some kind of hay grass? Monster Hunter devs really like their hay grass. They brought this back in Gen 2. And not only that, but made a giant long field of it. He also looks so good in this area with the reflective pools. I'm a big fan. I am. Of course I say reflective with big asterisks because that shit's a portal to a whole new world. Hard-shelled terrors. Was boring as shit. I don't want to talk about it. High rank monkey. Ooh, ooh, ah, ah. Apparently this particular Rajang is property of the dojo instructor, who clearly did not get the memo that we took the PvP system out. Fucking idiot. Actually, that's probably a good thing. This way Aburugu can't show up with a magazine Tigrex. Rajang might be my single favorite second generation monster. He pulls 0 punches, is fast and ridiculously strong, but never unfair. And goes in the lava because fuck you. Rajang's gotta do what Rajang's gotta do. I ran Ice, Sword, and Shield in a vain attempt to break the monster's tail. It didn't happen because Sword and Shield's small, and this monkey's rear is never facing you. He can't punch your face off if he's not facing towards you. As long as you know what to do against the monkey, and the game isn't fucking dose, he's a pretty quick fight. This one falling after 20 minutes. Armored Supremacy. This game rates Diablos and Gravios on the same tier of difficulty. They're both tanks, they both take forever to beat, and they both have black subspecies that double up on 2 separate occasions in the same tier. Thanks to this Forsaken Brotherhood, the Demon King got a bum of a Gravios counterpart in Armored Supremacy, a gigantic Gravios. I am brimming with enthusiasm. Oh, Joe, look at that, the 227th place Wyvern. Yippee and Wahoo and such. I must have gotten exposed the Orb of Confusion because for some reason, every single attack I'm trying to do in this footage is the upward thrust, which keeps missing. Unfortunately, I got caught in a Gravios roar and the 227th place Wyvern slipped away like the sneaky little weasel he is. What the Peach Punisher is to Diablos, the Plesioth Waterlands is to Gravios. But to the Armored Supremacy, that means fucking nothing because this dude does not have the word die in his vocabulary. This fight is a war of attrition. I guzzled all my potions and mega potion and was still so down bad for healing, I had to resort to herbal medicines. This is what struggle looks like. The stamina situation was not much better. Being gassed out against a brick wall is not good. Thank goodness I'm not using a weapon that requires stamina for defense. Something about horses. Alright, huge spoiler for Squid Game Season 3. All ready for this? Cover your ears if not. Aunt May dies. I would love to dodge that, I really would, but I must get burned to a crisp now, thank you. The way Gravios works in these older games is very extreme. First, you're doing no damage whatsoever, and you might as well be fondling the dude's nuts. Or you're a professional sculptor, about to rearrange his body shape into a really immature object phallic in nature. The difference is in this tum. When it's broken twice, and I do mean twice, he goes from erupting volcano to a ball of hot wet mud that can still gas you the fuck out. If you only break his tum once, it might look like his weak point is exposed, but nay. This? You think this is a weak spot? What are you, stupid? Are you stupid dumb? It might as well be unbroken. But this, when the bacon belly is fully exposed, now we're getting somewhere. It took over 40 minutes to get here, but once he bared his heart to me, I speared it and cooked it over an open flame, not realizing that due to the lava exposure, it was already well done. That's both the one-horned Demon King and the Armored Supremacy dealt with. Time to punish myself with more Gravios. Gravios has a really useful rare material in the Gravios brainstem, which can be best extracted out of his tail. Unfortunately and unsurprisingly, this creature's motor functions continue on without a brain, and as such this monster still has to be battled. This quest is a little bit hard just because there's 2 of them, and more pressingly, the Gravios learned how to turn their heads during a heat beam, taking this attack from some of the freest damage ever to an actual threatening move. The Black Gravios has a harder shell than the normal one, so my attacks were deflecting like crazy. But luckily, there's a neat little technique we can employ to circumvent this hindrance. The Lance's charge attack. By some miracle, when you charge into a monster in this game, instead of lamely bouncing off and being pathetically useless, the move follows through, taking what could have been potentially an impossible win to a close victory. I am forever thankful that there are no more village Gravios needed to be dealt with. Now that just leaves one more imposing threat. Lao Shan Crab. I'm not even going to pretend like I'm enthusiastic for this one. So the Fortress Crab is stomping through the place like he always is, and is being a total bitch all the while because I forgot to put on my low-rank Blingo armor. Still, wielding Crab to fight Crab wasn't a terrible option. I mean, the dude turned red like he normally does. The only real thing that differentiates this fight from the last one is that this one takes place in the canyon outside the fort and not the battle quarters. The only difference that makes is that a lot of time is wasted while transitioning between zones. There's a little novelty in being able to jump into the crab's skull mouth and occupying the space alongside his putrid, explosive crab butt. And this is the only time to put down an anti-dragon bomb, because if you jump on him while he's walking, this happens for some reason. This monster is always a treat. Monster Hunter Dose Big Guy terminated. Back at the village, Neko presents us with the village's final challenge, the Acantor. Something so nerve-wracking, Neko lets her feline accent slip. Yeah, here we are at the finale of the village, facing down the Supremacy Wyvern, the Tyrant of Fire, the Black God, Acantor, who, like Elder Dragons, is immune to traps and is weak to the dragon element, but he himself is not an Elder Dragon, as he falls into the category of Flying Wyvern. There was a time when the guild classified him as an elder, but upon closer inspection they discovered vestigial wings. Wings that degenerated throughout the course of the monster's evolutionary history, kind of in the same manner that humans and apes have lost their tails. He's an untouchable beast with and without wings, so he decided to just save energy and cut out the wings. His fight is most similar to Tigrex, which is just as fun as it sounds. I'm gonna get the elephant out of the room. This charge attack is nearly impossible to avoid. He locks on like crazy, and the Gen 1 volcano arena is puny, so most of the time you can't run away from it. If you ever find yourself in this situation, the key is to pay attention to his right foreleg. Not your right, his right. Wait until he's about here and pay attention to this leg. If it's up, Superman dive under it, and you just might not get hit. And that's a big might. So this monster has a very commonly used and nearly unavoidable move. That's pretty epic. What if I told you that this monster can also dig underground, and when he's underground, these little plumes of lava will pop out all around him and do just as much damage as getting hit by his body does. That's pretty epic too. My favorite part about the lava plumes is that their damage scales up when Acantors get mad, like, Did the lava get angry too? Thankfully, there's a way to mitigate the pain of this monster tunneling. That is by bringing paintballs, hitting the monster, and zooming in the minimap. With that, you're always able to tell what the monster is doing, even if he's underground. This helps a lot in being a good indication of what move Acantor is going to be doing next. When he's underground, he can do 3 things. Pop back out, impaling you with his spikes and inflicting you with defense down somehow, doing the epic randomized lava plume attack, or if he tunnels to a corner of the arena, that means he's going to use his signature wind tunnel attack. This dude utilizes his gargantuan pair of lungs, trust me, I've seen them, to create an enormous swirling vortex of wind, capable of demolishing rocks, monsters, and hunters alike. This is an extremely dangerous monster that ranks higher than most Elder Dragons in terms of pure destructive capability. He even has the Tigrex thing where his roars can kill, because obviously. The strategy I chose involved the Yian Garuga hunting horn, one of the best hunting horns available for this fight. Whenever the Acantor did a big giant attack that rendered him either a hazard, untouchable, or both, I would be able to play a song completely for free to not waste any time. With the hunting horn's natural evade extension and fast movement speed, a lot of his attacks were rendered relatively useless, as I could bonk his face and zoom away like it's nothing. The wolf shamisen worked fantastically well. But there's an even easier solution to this monster. Grab a gun, start the quest. As soon as the quest begins, turn around and run into these rocks. Just as a cantor runs over to spank your unobservant ass, dive and watch as it puts you on top of the rock wall, completely out of the monster's range. Most excellent. Now the only issue to worry about is the odd wind tunnel. I would like to thank Kappa's Lair for uploading the guide, and want to also bring attention to this 480p gem of a 2011 YouTube video. From here, hell can safely be rained down upon the Black God's back, rendering him 100% helpless and 200% dead. It took me 2 attempts, but after 30 minutes of battle, the Fire Tyrant fell, and we're given a nice trailer for the game that we just finished, to be precise. In this trailer, we see a Velociprey longsword main, L, waking up to the beautiful Pocky village, where instead of looking sad and empty like it does in gameplay, it's more akin to what the magazines say, with it being a bustling town full of hunters and hot spring goers alike. Longsword main sends Trenya away, and then they strangely both end up in the same exact spot in the snowy mountains, carrying a cool rock. Tigrex, wanting his really cool rock, tries to completely murderize them, ending with these two in the snow, and the Longsword Main's hunter friends return, just in time for the Tigrex to arrive and reclaim his really cool rock. The hunters ready up, Trenya preps with his tiny little treasure gather pickaxe, and they all simultaneously hit the screen so hard, it becomes a title card, and then the actual end credits, each of which depicts Trenya's travails, out on his many searches for valuable treasure. The credits also feature some monsters we still have yet to encounter, and despite it all, Trenya does manage to finally make it back, with a really cool rock. Good on you, buddy. With that, we have completely completed all of the village quests, earning us Nekot's iconic coat, as well as the information that the reason why Nekot doesn't say nya is because of prejudice against felines, I guess, which I don't think is ever brought up ever again in Monster Hunter. She reveals to us that she's a secret agent, contracted by the guild to find some exceptional hunters, and indeed she's found one in Granny Veggie. The Gathering Hall, a Hunters Guild outpost erected in Pocky Village, inside of which is the one other Pocky Village hunter. And surprise, surprise, she's a total bitch. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the low rank because, like, who cares? There are so many quests and it's all more or less the same. And since I have high rank armor, no damage will be done to Granny. The beginning of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite's Gathering Hall is weird because there are 3 star levels that I like to call super low rank. The only hard quests are quests similar to this one. Yeah, you remember how completely terrible the solo Piscine Livers quest was? Imagine that, but adjusted for multiplayer. The reason why I call this super low rank is because you can get monsters like Rathalos in the 2-star quests, but he doesn't give the usual low rank drops. He gives reduced drops. I have no idea what purpose this is supposed to serve. Like, low rank is easy enough. I don't know why low rank needs a low rank. This is like the polar opposite of the modern practice of introducing an unbalanced armor and weapon tree with the intention of speeding you through the smelly base game so you can quicker purchase the expansion. Freedom Unite literally has anti-defender armor. Of these, the only noteworthy quest is this one to catch 3 golden fish. Golden fish, as we'll come to find out, are super picky bastard fish that spawn rarely, but can be caught guaranteed with golden fish bait. If you don't have golden fish bait, or are for some reason being stupidly stingy with a bait that you do not need besides, to catch a fish that is just a useless account item, why did I fucking do this? If you don't have golden fish bait, the best strat is to leave the zone, come back, and then hope that a gilded cold-blooded marine animal spawned. As we make our way through the guild hall, something dawned on me. Things are easy right now, but someday things definitely won't be. Maybe it would be a good idea to make some proper armor. And so I set my sights on 2 endgame high-rank armor sets, the Darka Cantor Blade and Red Guild Gun. Darka Cantor needs brain stems, Rajang pelts, fire cell stones, and a lot of them.
The brainstems were simple, they just needed tail cuts for some reason. Their Zhang pelts are self-explanatory, and fire cell stones were simple too, as they can be gleaned from a Cantor's corpse.
You know, as long as the corpse's final resting place isn't a river of molten flowing lava.
The Red Guild gunner armor is a little bit trickier though, requiring a lot of fire cell stones. Again, as well as Garan spines, Deora carapaces, Black Blos thoracic, Monoblos heart, Kirin Thundertails, and most mysterious of all, the Feline Meal Pass Plus, which turns out to be a reward for maxing out the level of your feline chefs. The other materials were easily ground for, save for one, the Monoblos heart. I'm going to need you guys to understand something. This is a rare drop, but good God, I defeated about 27 Monoblos and 50 Daimyo Hermitors before getting what I wanted. That is 77 monsters slain for one stupid reward. My grinding method at first was taking on the quest Sand Dunes Might, the 9-star Nekot quest which featured both the Man of the Hour and Daimyo Hermitor, which for some reason, I guess, has a chance of containing an ancient, dried up Monoblos heart that you can get by breaking the skull shell. After doing this quest 10 or so times, I moved over to the jungle for the biggest crab slaying session in Monster Hunter history, where I felled about 10 crabs in one quest. No, that's not hyperbole. In fact, you can count it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And the streak only ended there because the quest has a 50-minute time cutoff and interrupted me while I was fighting this last guy.
Each of which having a 5% chance of dropping the Monoblos heart because I broke the shell. And not only did I break the shell, I broke each and every single one of them twice. And this is my rewards box. Notice the complete and utter lack of Monoblos hearts. So I did the quest again, and 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 again. And guess what? I didn't get it. I was chewing up and spitting out crabs like delicious 5-year-old gums placed on the underside of a school desk. And then I got it. On Daimyo number 52. Cool. And despite all that, I didn't get a single gold crown for Daimyo Hermitor. Not a small, not a large. L me, I guess. After grinding for fire cell stones, the Plesioth Lance and Gun Lance, Gravios Brainstems, and Wrath Brainstems. Finally, I could craft the Dark Acantor and Red Guild Gunner armor. The Acantor armor is good for its expert and artisan skills, allowing for higher levels of weapon sharpness. And the Red Guild armor is a pellet ammo gunner armor, which I thought would buff the Peach Pounder, but it turns out this armor only adds pellet ammo to guns that can't use pellet ammo, making this armor kinda completely useless. I'm so glad I spent all that time grinding for a Monoblos heart. Well, at least Granny's wearing armor that no man can handle, and what do you mean the gun isn't meant for wyverns? This armor is only cool for the story it tells. Apparently it's worn by guild shadows, which are female operatives working from the shadows to do the guild's bidding. More hints at possible corruption or something deeper going on in the Hunters Guild, which is really fun. I can't wait for this to never be brought up ever again. Anyways, I grabbed a teddy bear and headed out to fight the Blinganga as a test for the Dark Acantor armor, which turned out to be a terrible choice because this teddy bear is unsurprisingly completely garbage, and this Blinganga only died after 40 minutes of aggressive cuddling. Here's a little piece of trivia regarding the music of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. While the maps are almost entirely brought over from Monster Hunter DOS, the 2006 game from the same generation, nearly all of its music has changed. Instead of using the DOS soundtrack for these maps, every area theme has been changed to match Monster Hunter Frontiers music, the second generation game from 2007. The desert, swamp, volcano, and tower all feature the Frontier music instead of music originally made for that area. And the Snowy Mountains got changed too, but not to its Frontier equivalent. For some reason, they decided that every single soundtrack would get swapped with a Frontier song, except the Snowy Mountains theme. The new Snowy Mountains theme is the DOS Arena theme. I don't know why. If I had to guess, it was some kind of goof up that happened with specifically the US release, because the Japanese release did get properly Frontierified. DOS had some serious bangers, so while I do miss what we lost, the new music works fine. Thankfully, that was the urgent quest for Hunter Rank 1, meaning finally the end of Super Low Rank. If there is one thing that Super Low Rank does well, it's desynchronizing the star level so that instead of having 1-star quests for HR1 and 2-star quests for HR2, we have 4-star quests for HR2. Isn't that just brilliant? Amidst the 4-star quests is the incredible Go Fish Golden Fish, which unlike the prior ridiculous Golden Fish quest that tasked us to fish up 3,
Okay, so this quest is a slight bit harder, with only 2.6 times the amount of golden fish required to beat. It also takes place in the desert, in specifically this area, which is cold. It also has an infinitely respawning Vespoid, so thank you, Capcom. And it features a Plesioth. Since he can only exist in 2 areas on the desert map, is constantly in this zone. Thanks again, Capcom. And because it's in this zone, in this exact spot, I have to run a whole marathon and back to respawn the fish in the vain hopes that a golden fish spawned among them. Thanks, Capcom. Thankfully, after about 35 minutes of intense fishing gameplay, I caught all 8 of the gilded fish and successfully stolen. No way. I can't even kill them with this teddy bear. Thanks, Capcom. Well, back to fishing. It's times like these where I wish they actually tried to give the teddy bear weapon meaningful stats. I know it's supposed to be a joke weapon, but I'm wearing fucking a Cantor armor, and I got mugged by a coven of low-rank back alley bastard cats, and I couldn't do anything about it. So far, I've spent more time talking about fucking fishing quests. That's how you know how interesting Guildhall low rank is. Don't worry though, the next one is a very interesting quest that stars a monster that will have a very long section pertaining to him because he's just so damn fascinating. HR2 Lao Shanlong. Strap in because we're gonna be here as long as there's stuff to talk about. The urgent for the 4-star quests is Tigrex, the portable second box art boy. Despite being a low rank monster, getting stampeded over still does that much damage, even prompting a feint out of me. Though in my defense, I didn't account for him swinging that fucking tail around. And even if I did, I didn't think it could possibly result in a cart. And yeah, okay, the rest of low rank is more or less the same. Fight monster that I'm overgeared for, some wacky hitbox will happen that I'll soy face over, and at the end of the tunnel comes Shen Garan, which makes me want to smile. But during this stretch of time came one of the most important sessions, grinding for Diablo's tails. Because I had to cut tails, I unfortunately could not bring the Peach Pounder, but instead the Tigrex Greatsword. And this is where I learned something crazy. Greatsword destroys Diablos. Maybe it's just me, but I tried to fight Diablos with a wide array of weapons and nothing really worked. And because of that, I figured that Greatsword, the giant weapon known for its slow, deliberate movements, against this monster that moves fast, constantly throws out hitboxes that should knock you out of charge slashes, and half the time isn't even on the same plane of existence, wouldn't stand a chance. Yet as I fought this monster, I realized more and more that you can manipulate it just right to always hit his legs, belly, or tail with charge slashes. And you don't even have to sacrifice your health to deal damage all that much. Greatsword's gameplay works shockingly well against Diablos. A lot of the time, if an attack is coming, it's possible to block or dodge out of the way, while also getting in charge slashes. Chef's kiss. Reading when Diablos is going to be standing still for his "I'm very angry" growl just fits the Greatsword game plan so well. And that isn't to mention the weapon's tail-cutting power. Let's count how many swings it takes to sever this tail from the very start of the fight. Has my point been made? The reason why I want Diablos tails is because the legendary Sword of the Diablos requires 6 total. 3 regular, 3 black. Prompting some epic tail grinding where I load up the quest, cut the tail, and hope for a tail carve and not a shell carve. And if the latter happens, I have to abandon the quest and do it all again. With those, I could craft the Sword of the Diablos. And while it's not the strongest greatsword I have, it is a precursor to the greatest greatsword in Monster Hunter history. I don't know if that's hyperbolic. It probably is. Also, before moving on to the Shengaran fight, while cleaning up some of the filler quests, I got what is undoubtedly my greatest greatsword moment in my entire life.
It happened! It happened! It happened! Oh my god, it happened! It happened! I cannot believe that happened! It hit though! It hit though! The greatsword man that was saying if it hit though for his entire life, it finally hit!
2 wraths hit, unpunished, 1 dead, interrupted a charge attack. That was the closest I've ever been to divinity right there. Remember when I talked earlier about how charge slashes can cause greatsword mains to go for the dumbest, most impossibly stupid charged slashes, usually to either end in a whiff or getting hit for the pure audacity, accompanied with a phrase similar to, "Yo, but if that hit though." This is the one time when it hit though. It fucking hit though. The last funny thing in this tier is, hey, this might be an innuendo. The urgent for this tier is And with him done, we clean up the last couple of Elder Dragons to finish off all of low rank, earning us the silver medallion, and we can turn our attention to the Gathering Hall's high rank. Finally, the game is kind of hard again. This rank introduces a lot of twofers, 2 Velocidromes, 2 Gendromes, and 2 birds. None of these are challenging. What is challenging is when the world's second biggest Bulldrome intrudes on the Kongolala quest. At first I read that the hired hunters of Skinny Lord felt a Bulldrome and scoffed, but now I get it. There was one pretty important moment here though.
Don't tell me that's a Monoblos heart.
What? You are... After a quick Cephadrome, the first high-rank Urgent reveals itself as 7-star quests include 8 twofers. Baboons, rats, fish. There are a lot of fucking fish in this tier. Crabs, baboons, again, a bird and a bitch, a crab and a fish, a dick and a razor. Oh no. Blengo duos were a bit tough. Remember, this is high rank and we are only slightly overgeared for this. With that being said, we're fighting monsters that have their stats scaled upwards with the expectation that you have friends and aren't a YouTuber doing a stupid challenge. So this is where the game starts really showing its fangs and biting with them. Having 2 Blengos in the same zone is not a very fun experience. Though despite losing her plot armor, Granny's wolf shamisen absolutely obliterates both monkeys in under 15 minutes. Somehow solo Blengo took longer. Time for the 4th and 5th Blengonga. It may sound like a drag to keep fighting the same monster over and over again, but this is the most fun I'm going to have for a while, because next is this guy. Just like the prior bevy of Blengos, there's a cluster of Kezus in this tier here, assuredly to maximize the fun factor of 7-star quests. This was fine. What happened next was not. It's a fi. In this tier of quests alone, there are 5 separate instances of this impious Piscine. The first and absolute worst that the 7-star quests have to offer is the Plesioth Duo quest, because fucking obviously. One of my greatest aids on this quest was Plesioth's major neurocognitive disorder. Thanks to this, I could hide out on the far side of the beach while one Plesioth rages, shooting water beams, and the other peacefully exists, swimming around and enjoying the fair life. Because of his degenerative brain condition, he'll also completely ignore the fact that you're so obviously standing right there. Because Fay can't help himself when he spies a tasty frog. After about 30 minutes, they died with their bodies and wings, making a nice, cute heart shape. Aw, I love you, Plesioth. When I saw this live, I said,
Send this to someone you love or would want to drown.
and some people in my personal life began sending me this image. Now I can't tell what their intentions are. Then there were the solo Plesioths featuring Gendrome. More been there, done that. Then there's one that actually kind of scared me. This may seem like an easy quest. Just kill a crab and then the Plesioth. Plesioth dies relatively fast with the Peach Pounder, so what's the issue? Well, you see, the issue isn't with the fish. It's with the crustacean. I had absolutely no idea how to fight the daimyo with a gun. And when getting into the quests, my fears were proven valid as the crab was still alive after 5 minutes. Then 10 minutes, then 15, then 20, dying when the quest was already half over. Since the daimyo is such a low-tier monster, I was afraid that the Plesioth would have its health buffed to counterbalance that, resulting in a potential timeout and a wall. But these fears were completely and utterly destroyed when the fish died in 6 minutes. For some reason, the rapid-fire thunder ammo from above absolutely demolished the fish, ending the fish's reign, and with it, the last of the 7-star tough quests. It's time for an urgent. This right here is one of the most infamous boogeyman quests coming from Freedom Unite. The Gathering Hall's high-rank rendition of the Dual Tigrex quest, the strongest variation of the striped savages present in the game. But if Granny Veg is one thing, it's the world's greatest greatsword user. And the world's greatest greatsword user would never shy away from a challenge as ridiculous as this. And I triple carded in the first 15 minutes of the quest. Now, as a person that's seen just about everything Freedom Unite has to offer, I think I can comfortably make the statement that while I don't think it's the hardest, this definitely is, at the very least, in the top 5 hardest quests that the game has to offer. Maybe even top 3, honestly. Tigrex as a monster is incredibly fast, strong, unpredictable, and when it comes to Guild Hall high rank, healthy. These monsters do not die, and when there's 2 of them, it forces a hard decision. Do I face the duo together simultaneously on this tiny mountaintop with no room as they're throwing out massive stampede hitboxes, or do I choose life?
But then if I choose life, then I have to sit there and wait until one of them leaves, watching that blasted timer tick down to 0 minutes remaining. Fortunately, there is a middle ground. When the player leaves the zone, monsters that are still in combat mode will be unable to do attacks, since there are no players, instead defaulting to doing idle animations until they de-aggro, leave the zone, or if the player comes back.
With this knowledge, we can know for sure that they're going to be doing an idle animation when we come back. And while they're doing that idle animation is the perfect time to get in and get a swing. Well, fuck.
So the strategy was to pop in, attack once, and pop back out. But I never considered Tigrex body blocking the exit and deleting my entire health bar. Lesson learned. Do not fuck with 2 Tigrexes in the same zone, no matter what. Over 40 minutes passed when the first Tigrex fell, meaning the second would have to die in less than 10 minutes remaining. And luckily, the world's greatest greatsword player did enough damage to chase the beast back to its den, inside of which...
The greatest
Wait.
greatsword player?
Do you hear that? It sounds like...
You're not the greatest greatsword player?
No.
Okay, Abiarugu, what am I then?
You're the greatest Monster Hunter Freedom Unite Insectlave main. The greatest greatsword title belongs to another.
Impossible. This can't be. I'll slay this Tigrex with a charge slash and prove once and for all who's the greatest greatsword player of all time. Here we go. 1!
What? The true greatest greatsword main of all time hath revealed himself. Snowy Mountains Area 3 Vespoid.
After being upstaged by an insect, Granny Veggie is promoted to Hunter rank 6 and is introduced to the 8-star quests, including this disgrace: 2 Kirans in the same arena. Yippee. The first order of business, though, is upgrading the Sword of the Diablos into the Diablo Destroyer, and that means high-rank Diablos time. And you might be expecting this to be a total bitch of a quest, but it was actually easy as pie, because like I said, Greatsword picks apart the Horned Wyvern. At least it normally does. Because there is one monster that is the exception. A familiar horned beast unlike any other. The return of the king. The Demon King is back to take revenge against the Green Machine, and he is beyond pissed. And I'm not using the Carry Umbrella because I don't think it would have the DPS. Under the intense heat of the desert sun, war was waged, tails were cut, wheels on the carts turned. The Demon King made a vegetarian skewer out of his sworn enemy, and in response, she shattered the very horn used to perforate her. With Cephalos' help, of course, war was waged for what felt like hours, until a surprise attack from below settled the score. But wait, something wasn't right about this. Nobody was anywhere near the point where the Diablos emerged. How did the king know where to attack? Unless... the one responsible for many an unnecessary detonation. The one attacking Granny, holding her in place for monsters to attack, pretending to be a helping hand out of stun. The evidence? Her stopping just before the danger zone and dancing, as if to taunt. Or a signal. It all makes sense now. Mai had been observing Granny's fighting style and knew exactly when she would be the weakest. Knowing this, she wrote down all this information and snuck out in the dead of night, journeying to the arid sands of the desert to a recovering king. Here, Mai said, you'll need this. The king remarked, yes, with this I can get my revenge. And to whom do I owe this favor?
Mai. In return, I want free access to all the Felvin in this wasteland you call a kingdom. First you get the green woman here, then we'll talk.
Mai had been secretly plotting to take out Granny Veggie, and in doing so made an alliance with one of the most powerful rulers alive, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. From there, she could establish her Felvin empire, elevating to a celestial stage off the backs of addicted and struggling felines. She would go on to become the wealthiest cat in history. At least she would have if she understood that after 3 faints, the hunter gets brought back home safe and sound. After stuffing Mai in an air fryer, the run back with the king began anew. Granny given a second chance at life just as the king was, and she too came back with a terrible vengeance. What followed was a war of sheer endurance. The battle wasn't won by either side through sheer brute force and power, but it would be won inch by painstaking inch. It was slow. Both parties fought with great resolve, enduring devastating blows wrought by the other. Blows that would have easily debilitated a lesser combatant, but these two knew their respective opponent well. It would ultimately come down to who wanted to win more.
who deserved to win more. The victor wouldn't be chosen by strength, but perseverance. The battle moved from zone to zone, area to area, Granny slowly making progress on the Titan's health, where the Titan made progress on Granny's regeneration. It's kind of poetic in a way, the plant woman's greatest opponent being an herbivore and all. To him it was revenge, and to her it was comeuppance. After 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45 minutes, with the timer at the very brink of ticking over, a victor of this cruel war was finally decided, and the victor stood in front of her greatest rival, not with a feeling of triumph, but a feeling of gratitude. A marvelous beast such as this grown so strong off of dining on her own kind. It's kind of beautiful to think about the nature of life and creation in general, as there's never any creation that can be done without an equal amount of destruction, and vice versa. It's like the law of conservation of mass, where nothing could ever truly be destroyed. It can only be reshaped. Just as the Diablos dines on cacti to fuel its size, strength, and hunger for more destruction, is Granny not so dissimilar to him when she killed his kind to craft a weapon capable of elevating her up that much more? Under this light, they're the exact same, equal yet opposite. And when the fated battle came, ultimately the one who wanted it more stood in the end. But it wouldn't be the end of his journey. Just as she had destroyed him, his remains will be used to craft the strongest sword. And the cycle repeats itself. Destruction becomes creation. In this way, they will face the cruelty of the world together. I am so fucking happy that there is no guild hall armored supremacy Gravios. That would have literally been impossible. I am so lucky. So lucky. I went against a pretty run-of-the-mill Black Gravios, and that took me until the last 5 minutes of the quest to beat. So needless to say, I lucked the fuck out with no armored boy. That could also mean I was just using the wrong weapon. Like I ran a regular Gravios directly after that with the Plesioth Water Lance, and it died in like 15 minutes. This might be the best weapon at killing specifically Gravios. The following wraths were easy, and the next quest was not. Horse. The return. For some reason, the horse with an elemental weakness to fire thought it was a good idea to pay a visit to the volcano, probably to cool off in the nice warm rivers of magma. This one being also pretty large, like legs clearing a whole human large. That would be like this tall. Like real life horses, if you break their legs, it's very easy to put them down. That was 30 minutes of bullshit. Or horseshit. Boy, do I never want to do that ever again.
Now it's time for high-rank Chameleos.
Elder Dragon quests are unique in that they aren't always available. They rotate in and out of the quest pool as they please, rather. I chose to start with the most painful of the trio, Chameleos. When scaled for multiplayer, this bastard of a reptile goes from endearing goofball with way too much health to oh my fucking god, just fucking die, please. There is a saving grace though in the repel mechanic. A since lost mechanic where elders would leave if you damage them for at least 20% of their health. While it doesn't kill the dragon outright, it counts their quest as complete, which is extremely convenient for me in this challenge. All I need to get for that Supreme Hunter's crest is a checkmark, and a repulsion does just that. Kieran. Fuck, the horse's back ended with a vengeance, which is a really odd name for a second horse. After fully completing the game, I think I can pretty comfortably say that this quest is probably the most designed for multiplayer. Look at this will use the power of friendship bullshit right here. Sharing aggro and avoiding random lightning when there are two horses locked in the same room with you isn't exactly fun or easy. It's like an obstacle course where the prize at the end is fighting more horse. I said horse, not the other word. And it led to me crafting a very specific strategy to win. This strategy being to play lame until Mai gets back. It's as simple as it sounds. If one horse is angry, it almost isn't worth it to try and deal damage because you're constantly one nasty combo away from death. But if Mai is here, that's a different deal because while she is almost constantly being killed or dead in those fleeting moments of life, she draws just enough attention from the horses, allowing some time to attack without the risk of being skewered from both ends. Another point was to strongly prioritize one horse, because attacking both would make them both angry, and that's a big no-no. I would attack the other horse if it was convenient to me, but other horse already takes damage from the main horse, which could incite anger, so I chose to play it safe. This fight had some terrifying close calls, but after about 30 minutes, I managed to squeeze out a victory on my first try. Somehow. I Don't ask me how. After finishing off Chameleos and a couple wraths, medals included, we returned back to the monkey's lair. I really loved the bit of trivia that they had a literal god gamer fight Rajang in playtesting and decided not to nerf the monkey because the god gamer made him look too easy. If this monkey is the pinnacle of strength, that playtester is strength divinity. Nothing could ever compare. Even while kitted out in my new silver and gold sword and shield, I am obviously no such gamer. After being returned to Paki on a stretcher, we're made cognizant of a coming storm. The gauntlet required for entry into G rank, beginning with Shen Garan. I can't pretend to despair at this moment because I'm used to the pain at this point. So I bopped all the remaining high rank monsters, Wind Guy, Toaster, Monkey, caught a fish, and then I went back to the Village Elder. You see, Monster Hunter Freedom Unite has its fair share of secret quests, 5 of which are high rank. Those being 2 Nargas and 3 dragons with differing unlock requirements. The first is to complete every single one of the solo quests in the Hunter's Dojo. The second being to make 5 marks on each existing Elder Dragon, hence the Lunastra killing. And yes, they do have to be fully dead for it to count. So with that in mind, we shift gears to take on arena quests. Now these are incredibly easy, as our supplied gear is completely overpowered for these monsters. We already did Kaku grinding to unlock Garuga earlier, which died in like 45 seconds. And all the other monsters followed suit. This Konga died in 4 minutes 45 seconds with a broken controller, Kezu in 3 minutes 12 seconds, Daimyo in 2 minutes flat, Blango in 2 minutes 51 seconds, Garuga in 5 minutes and 44 seconds, Tigrex in 3 minutes and 57 seconds, Diablos in 6 minutes and 49 seconds, Gravios unbelievably in 4 minutes and 35 seconds, and Kieran in 2 minutes and 39 seconds. Thus unlocking the legendary Black Dragon, Fatalis. When the world is full of wyverns, the legend is revived. Meat is eaten, bone is crunched, and blood is sucked up dry. He burns the earth and melts through iron. He boils the rivers and mows down trees. He awakens the winds and lights an inferno. He is called Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destiny. He is called Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destruction. Call for help, run for your lives, and don't forget to pray to the skies. He is called Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destiny. He is called Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destruction. Fatalis, Fatalis, heaven and earth are yours. Fatalis, Fatalis, heaven and earth are yours. The following was a transcript from the Hunting Life magazine. Apparently that's a song that children sing in the Monster Hunter universe. How happy. Now, this ain't Dose, and as such, you are thankfully not supposed to kill him on one attempt. If that were the case, the challenge would be over because I don't have the Dragon Dropper carry schisms. Instead, this game opts for what Monster Hunter 1 did, wearing down the legend over multiple different hunts, with the only requirement being to chip away 20% health. Something that totally will not become a cause for concern later on. Because the option to repel was given, it takes this fight from being a stressful time crunch to an exhaustive mashing fest against a pretty straightforward monster. Since there were virtually no stakes, I decided to experiment with a new method in concussing the fuck out of the living legend by beating his face on the wall, but results were inconsistent. I also discovered an armament I did not realize existed, that being the ultra giant giganto fuck you crusher wall, which holds the dragon in place for approximately 8 microseconds. I think this one is best to go for only when it's convenient because I discovered it completely on accident and it doesn't really seem like it does much. I've tried fishing for it by standing underneath it and waiting for Fatalis to come over, but whenever I tried to do this, the dude seemed to get dementia and started walking the other direction, clearly knowledgeable of the Cephadrome strats. I think the big fuck you crusher wall is only really worth going for if it's convenient and Fatalis is already near it. The returns aren't really good enough to try and force Fatalis to come over, but you know, if the fight just happens to be straying near it, might as well. In the end, Fatalis is a monster that exists, dying on the 3rd run. Paving the way to the red guy, Crimson Fatalis. Crimson Fatalis is unlocked via the death of Black Fatalis and 5 of each Elder Dragon. And this monster looks phenomenal for this game. And even before he turns on his burning rage mode, what can I say, this hue of red really works for the guy. When he does go into rage mode, it is just mwah! Chef's kiss. This fight works pretty much the same as the regular Fatalis does, and is also a shoo-in with the repel mechanic. but I surprisingly had an easier time with the red version, and this is mostly thanks to the Fatalis hammer, the upgraded form of the black hammer whose materials were mined from the giant sword in the cave back in Paki. And that's because this sword is actually a Fatalis greatsword, and the pieces regrow because the sword itself is alive. This greatsword could be the size that it is because either its original wielder was giant, or because the weapon is attempting return to its original Fatalis form. There are a lot of myths and legends about the Black Dragon, perhaps the wildest among them being that the beast can regenerate its entire body from a single scale. This sword being the strongest supporting evidence for that claim. Another myth is that a person wearing the skin of the Black Dragon will go mad, with the person themselves disappearing and a new Fatalis being born. In other words, the armor literally transforms you into a Fatalis. The strongest evidence to support this is the armor descriptions that hint at the madness, but the armor descriptions are often flavor text and exist to hype up the cool factor. Like, I don't think a Cantor armor could let you cut a mountain in half, but still, it does hype up Fatalis to be the end-all be-all threat. And speaking of the end-all be-all of everything, he's dead. With the Crimson Flame defeated, Granny turns her attention to a much easier secret unlock. Gathering all high-rank Nargacuga. These two are unlocked by completing the village's Naruga Karuga quest. What the f- I did not even mean to say that. I did not even mean to say it like that. I am so screwed when it comes to these name pronunciations. This quest is not all that interesting though, I'm afraid. With every secret uncovered besides one, we can turn our attention to completing high rank. The first in a flurry of final urgence is to hunt the Shengaran terrorizing Dendorma. Which means thankfully it's this siege and not the one that wastes your time. This was actually quite a scary fight. I donned low rank Blango armor because it is legitimately better for this fight than Darker Cantor is, and got to mashing. But it didn't take me long to realize that this guy was actually kinda completely destroying the barricade, and it was nearly done for by the time I realized. So I quickly had to put together a strategy after noticing some mannerisms that Shengaran exhibited. Shengaran will always react when a leg is reddened, and in this reaction, instead of immediately going back to what he was doing before the interruption, he will step back away from the fortress and consider his next attack. That gave way to the panic strategy of reddening his leg specifically when he's about to attack, making it virtually impossible for him to break the barricade, as he simply can't get past if he's never attacking. There were some mistakes, and the fort got taken down to one hit away, making for some terrifying moments, but ultimately, the quest ended in success, with the fortress crab walking away, his efforts thwarted by a very persistent haggard plant. The next urgent and proper finale to high rank is the Black God Acantor. Despite being the proper big bad to Freedom Unite's high rank, the monster actually didn't have much else in store for us that we didn't already experience in Village high rank. So like clockwork, the monster got counterpicked by Hunting Horn and listened to his very own funeral procession played in tasteful banjo, or I guess in this case a shamisen. What does a shamisen sound like in real life? And that is every single high rank quest, completely and utterly beaten, which is what I would say if I wasn't a YouTuber, and as we all know, YouTubers are all filthy little liars. Notice anything unusual about that clear sign? It's red. There is one final secret monster that needs to be taken care of, but there's a prerequisite. This prerequisite being to kill 3 total black dragons, which you already know is easy as hell. And thus, we unlock the final dragon, the old one. The ancestor in the flesh. Eyes red with an ancient rage. Lightning cracking through the sky, leaving marbled scars in the atmosphere. All ease that was present in the original Fatalis fight is long since gone for this one. Because this one is actually just Crimson Fatalis, but white and has dragon lightning, and sometimes he calls down a storm. Okay. This fight actually wasn't all that hard. He flew away after 25 minutes due to the dragon repel system. At least, it wasn't hard at first. Just like I did so easily with Black and Crimson, I hopped back into it with the goal of finishing off the monster, to slay the old Fatalis. But that's when I encountered an old mechanic that I hadn't yet considered to be a threat at that point. White Fatalis's armor mode. Black Fatalis doesn't have armor mode. Crimson Fatalis has armor mode when he's angry, but it disappears when calm. White Fatalis's armor mode is permanently on until he reaches 20% health. and during this time he takes next to no damage, almost an eighth of what would otherwise have been dealt, throwing a wrench into everything. To put it into perspective, on the first run-in with White Fatalis, I cleaved off over half his health in less than 25 minutes before hitting armor mode. Then on the refight with armor mode, I went not to 25 minutes, but all the way up until 50 minutes. Failing the quest, I fucking timed out. I lost, and I didn't leave a scratch. So that's it then. I couldn't really think of what else to do, and I mean, hey, we did technically complete the quest. We did every single high rank quest and earned ourselves the gold medal. Proof of utter mastery of Freedom Unite's high rank. Barring this guy. Good for you, Granny. Those words rung in her ears from the villagers of Paki, but she didn't laugh or smile. She was actually rather distraught. What kind of pathetic excuse for a hunter leaves a monster unhunted, especially one as monstrous as the ancestral dragon? The agitating thought nagged in her brain for the night. The first monster with armor so dense it was completely untouchable. Only a true monster hunter could slay such a thing. And so she vowed she would bring about the end of the ancestral dragon, but she wouldn't do it now. She would do it when the monster reaches its pinnacle, its strongest form. She decreed that if she would fail then this entire challenge would be considered a failure, even if the game said otherwise. It was time to pull out all the stops and truly reach for the stars. When they meet again on that tower top, it will be at the very end, and both Granny and the White Dragon will be tempered by the final quest tier, G rank. The final tier of Monster Hunter, named G rank because you gotta be a G to make it here. Entry to the rank requires the head of the dreaded avian that humbled me prior, the orange bird. Except now, there's two. But Granny's not the same green sprout she once were. Now she's steamed. Fried even. No more dirt naps. The two orange birds don't stand it out. I'm not the one sleeping this time. Get ready for the ultimate. With the final urgent of the onslaught over and done with, we begin G rank proper. A tier notorious for getting hit once and needing to guzzle like 50 potions. And monsters that never return again in the series. This is also where we see the rise of subspecies that are genuinely different than their original species. The first we encounter being the Plum Daimyo Hermitar. This guy is absolutely gorgeous in this game. The purple and white stripes match him perfectly. The main difference between this guy and the main species is that big old Diablo skull shell, which subconsciously influences the crab to do his backwards charge in a series of fast, aggressive lunges. Also, this may or may not be a thing, but those claws just seem bigger to me. I don't know what it is. The next subspecies is the official hardest monster in the series, Monster Hunter Freedom Unite G1 star Emerald Congalala, barely beating world's low rank Anjanath. Emerald Conga's piss-combed crest is double the size as before, and he's also gassier, able to guard his behind, literally, with a colossal fart explosion that sends hunters flying. An attack that took me forever to get used to and still catches me off guard. And the back end's not the only thing that got buffed, as he's now able to poop into his tail 3 chunks of dung equivalent to him in sheer size, somehow, and throwing them in this spreading pattern. With these 2 moves, both his back end and his front end is completely covered, making this a serious burpy farty threat. I actually failed this quest on my first attempt, believe it or not. The run back while filthy was successful. After a series of other totally epic, not smelly monsters, I decided it was time to upgrade my gunner loadout. And so I grinded Rathalos for the Flame Wrath. 2 rubies and 3 plates, just for the weapon to be dogshit. Are you telling me that I grinded 3 plates and 2 rubies to get the privilege of killing 1 green fish after 30 minutes? Why do I keep sacrificing literal days of real life time to grinding stuff that turns out to not do anything whatsoever? Why does that keep happening in this game? As it turns out, level 1 ammo tends to be complete garbage, whether it rapid fires or not. And the saving grace for this gun is its rapid fire flaming. Wow. Amazing. It took me 25 minutes to successfully ledge camp a flopping fish. I am so grateful. I'm about as grateful as Granny is getting ambushed by 11 metric tons of Conga ass ham. Oh well, at least it keeps me from fighting the G-rank fish hand to hand. Wait, look! A crab. Wait, didn't our last gunner run against a crab not turn out so well? Following the G1 star onslaught were proposed and urgent. The ne'er-do-well being the box art boy himself, North Korea. Replaying that because that was a clean, perfect roll. The final and strongest iteration of the cat, whom I insists yet again upon keeping eternally angry. And unfortunately for me, he wasn't the only sneaky black cat in that forest. I'm sad to say though, the G-rank version of this monster doesn't really have anything new to talk about. Aside from the given health and attack buff, they didn't really mix him up in any way like they did the other monsters. So Narga is just the same old same old. Still, I hold firm on this being one of the best, most well-designed monsters from both a game design and monster design standpoint. An excellent box art, boy, and an exceptional monster. You served your purpose well. And then there were 2 of them. This quest isn't nearly as completely insane as the Dual Tigrex quest, and I think I can thank the extremely powerful purse bop in it ending as quietly as it did. Granted, it does help that Mai sometimes detonates herself when she tries to anger the cat out of spite. After 4 Nargas, we unlock the true final Narga of the game in the quest titled Save the Great Forest Town. And unsurprisingly, the hardest part of this quest wasn't the enormous blade-armed black panther that moves so fast his eyes leap trails, but rather the green monkey. What can I say? He's the strongest monster of all time. Here now we get into G2 Star proper, which features 2 monsters that I really love, both of which are in a competition to see who can be in as few games as possible. These of course being Terra Shogun Sianatar and Copper Blenganga. Copper Blenganga is one of the most influential subspecies ever and set the standard for subspecies moving forward in subsequent titles. This guy isn't just Blenganga, but in an orange coat of paint. This is a Blenganga with an entirely different modus operandi. Regular Blenganga is the leader of the Blengo pack. Copper fights alone. Regular Blengo relies on physical attacks to kill. Copper prefers to throw boulders in different ways. Regular Blengo immobilizes you with ice. Copper immobilizes you by giving you brain damage and putting sand in your pants. This all could have been an entirely different monster, but it's not. It's a subspecies that fights nothing like the original, only sharing moves that the other monkeys have. Copper Blenganga's hind legs are really hard, forcing the fight to be either to hit his really hard to break tail or his softer but riskier forelegs and head. You guys already know I like regular Blenagna, and Copper Blengo just erases the annoying parts of the regular. He doesn't summon little guys that disappear when you leave the zone, and he doesn't constantly jump between zones. I can see why people might not like this guy, given his whole thing now is just, I throw rock. But I personally find him to be incredibly fun, and would especially love it if he got so graciously taken out of 2nd generation Purgatory and found himself in a later game. Please, Capcom? Wouldn't that be cool? I think so. I think that would be fun. The first fight ended in just over half an hour, and what an exhilarating fight it was. Now I can craft the Copper Blenganga longsword, one of the best longswords in the game. Got a taste of my longsword. I'm sure this will see much use in this playthrough, which brings us to the next eternally damned orange guy, Terra Shogun Sianatar. Notice the evolved form of the Kazusi, soaked in blood. I know you must be thinking, oh, he's probably going to make a joke about the Kazusi's time of the month. And to that I say no. That is gross and disrespectful. What I really wanted to bring attention to is the Kazusi's now beautiful singing voice. Isn't this just the most beautiful thing you ever laid your ears on? I think so. It's like the sound of a singing angel. I could fall asleep and never wake up while listening to this. Terra Shogun doesn't agree now, but he will after another hit to the head. Terra Shogun isn't quite as cool or unique as Copper Blenganga, as he's still largely the same crap as before, except he does have 2 new moves. The first being this grounded water blast that never hit anyone in the history of anything ever, and this ceiling swirly beam, with the intention being on timing your advance, as the beam moves outward as the attack goes on. This is one of my favorite types of attacks in Monster Hunter. World, to name an example, has a few of these, with Burger-tempered Xenojiva and Alatreon both having an attack like this. Hell, Coral Pookie Pookie has an attack that's almost identical to this, except he doesn't need a ceiling to do it from. Attacks that give you just enough leeway to run into, where the payoff being that if you make it through untouched, you have lots of time to wail on a weak spot. Unfortunately, the payoff for successfully timing your advance against Terra Shogun is to just not get hit by the beam, which I suppose is pretty nice because that thing fucking hurts. The other thing that's different with Terra Shogun is this stunning orange and black coloration that he has going on. Him and Plum Daimyo really got blessed with their designs. Whenever I hear people wanting monsters being brought back between these two, it's always Terra Shogun, and I think that's mainly for the aesthetics. And also because this is a much more approachable fight since regular Shogun was already one of the best monsters. And this guy is just that, but orange with 2 new attacks. I personally would really love if the orange duo was brought back at the same time. Like, I think Copper Blango has a chance given that regular guy's in wilds. But man, these two have such shared history and it would feel kinda wrong for one to return without the other. Anyways, the Blood Kazushi made extremely short work of the Terra Shogun, leaving us with one last thing to do to honor the orange duo. That being to make their full armor sets and weapons. Partly because both of their armors are phenomenal looking and have great stats, and it would just feel right to have the Forgotten 2 carry me until just before the finish line, cementing their place in my own history as integral cogs. And so Granny fought and killed hundreds of the orange duo, ensuring that if they ever had a chance of returning, that chance is probably void now as each species is now extinct. But she could make a nice pair of boots out of them, making the trade-off 3 trillion% worth it. It took forever, but eventually she had it. The Copper Blinganga gunner armor allowing for extreme damage using rapid fire normal 3, and the Terra Shogun Blade Master armor allowing for the highest tier of sharpness, purple. After going out on a test run and successfully failing, we now have our pre-endgame sets, with an added-in pair of orange dual blades. It's so nice that we weren't neglected all the way up to the very end.
I know, it's very wholesome.
What do you know about wholesome? You're looking a little Third Reich today.
What are you talking about?
Just flip and turn the other direction before the video gets demonetized. Right now you look a lot like a... Fuck! The first proper test run was against the G-rank Hot Fish, who after sending me back to the camp twice and scaring me with granny cheeks was a quest failed. Keep in mind though, this wasn't any fault of the bowgun. This was actually due to the Lavaziath's new move. The Lavaziath's Choose Your Own Adventure Slither attack. Normally Lavaziath's Slither is bad enough because he employs an advanced technique called turning, which is the bane of any old gen Monster Hunter player ever. But sometimes when he's mad, he'll flop on the ground and start shimmying. And then he'll turn around and sit there, deciding, do I want to go left of the player, right of the player, or straight down the middle? From which, if he guesses, okay, I'll go this way, and you're going the other way, he can still hit you because he can fucking turn. This might be the deadliest move in Freedom Unite for that reason. If you don't have a shield, this takes lives. So yeah, to absolutely nobody's surprise, Lavaziath is a bitch. Which is why the devs decided it would be more fun to have 2 of them. The Hot Fish duo actually isn't that bad because, like Plesioth, you actually don't have to fight them at the same time. As long as one is aggroed, you can hide super far away from that molten shoreline and wait for the angry guy to come to you. And once he's fighting solo, this one really isn't that bad. 2 crabs in the arena. I'm not gonna lie guys, this one is extremely easy thanks to this ledge right here. G-rank Yayan Garuger. This guy's a toughin', he is. This quest is titled Howling at the Moon. A similar quest title would be given to the series' first actual wolf monster, in Zinogre. Yayan Garuger is just a lone wolf in the Sigma alpha male sense. At this point in the playthrough, I'm pretty good at fighting Yayan Garugers, but this guy still had a few tricks up his sleeve. The most pressing one being shooting fireballs directly underneath his face. What used to be a somewhat safe time to wail on the weakest part of the monster's head is now a hazard, because when those fireballs explode on the ground, anyone near his head are at risk of blowing up. Despite this, the high-rank Plesioth Waterlands continues to earn its stripes even in G-rank, which I'm guessing is why they didn't give it a G-rank upgrade, because it would have steamrolled the whole tier. G-rank Wraths, aka the exact same monsters. Rathalos just flies more and Rathian backflips more. And then it came time to finally start thinking about the end game. I would need a reliable weapon that would do most of the heavy lifting from here on out. And what better weapon than the shamisen of my old rival, the wolf shamisen, which can be upgraded into the crow shamisen, and I only needed 2 G-rank Garuga wings. That shouldn't be so bad, as I have access to a quest that I can break 4 total wings in. Except that didn't happen, because of course it didn't. What happened instead was hours of grinding, because no matter how many wings I broke, the rewards were still random, and random chance fucking hates me for some reason. By the way guys, you know about the pale bone, right? The rare monster part that took me over 30 Kezus to get one of yesteryear? You want to know how many of those I have now that I don't need them? 14. As a bonus, I also got 3 pale Kezu steaks and 2 Kezu special cuts because I need them, I guess. But with the Crow Shamisen, my damage was higher than ever before, and my elderly verdure vessel was at the top of her game, slaying powerful monsters at incredible speeds. It wouldn't be too long before the next wall came and forced her brakes. Just when I thought I was done with the G2 star stuff. No! Why? I don't want to fight this guy. Yeah. When I said a wall, I meant a glorified auto-scroller. Just like every single time before, Lao is not hard, just boring. While I do constantly complain about the old gen big boy monsters, I will say that I'm doing that with the benefit of hindsight, as later siege fights do really amp up both the fun and spectacle factor. And they wouldn't be as fun or spectacular if Lao didn't trudge his slow ass through this boring gray valley. I mean this in the most literal sense possible. Lao walked so Kolv could run. Lao also deserves kudos for being the hypest part of the Monster Hunter 1 trailer, and undoubtedly the reason why a lot of people picked up Monster Hunter 1 in the first place, thus proving to Capcom that Monster Hunter deserves to become a full-blown series. While there's no way to know for sure, I'm confident that Lao played a critical role in Monster Hunter becoming a series, and a successful one at that, and I will always respect him for that. But I can also respect him when he's not wasting my time in a quest. Goodbye, Lao. Until we inevitably meet again. And thus the urgent and first G3 star quest makes its appearance. The Floating Mountain Dragon. And another guy that the devs refused to acknowledge until recently with Monster Hunter Stories 3. Yamatsukami. He isn't a siege fight anymore, which is a damn shame considering the entire ancient tower was completely designed around him, either floating up inside of or flooding rooms with threats. But honestly, this fight isn't that much of a downgrade. And it even has some things that are better than the original. Like at the peak of the tower, this monster used to lose half his attacks, but here he can still do things like the terrifying Oko Chomp and the face slap. In case you're curious, the Freedom Unite battle takes place in a secret secondary tower top, away from the main one. This one entirely designed around Yama's siege attacks. The big, scary, sucky chomp where he screams, that feels a lot like this meme for some reason, can be neutralized by throwing trank bombs into his mouth. Sometimes this is a terrible thing to try and do because things like this can happen. I thought I had more space. That was a failed quest. When successfully tranquilized, the floating mountain dragon will become so relaxed he flops down to the bottom of the arena, allowing ample time for draconic destruction. While you're down there, he does also have the accursed ground super flop, which is potentially my least favorite move in DOS, and a reference to the burger, the Big Mike. This monster's name is a clever combination of Yama, the Japanese word for mountain, and Kami, the Japanese word for God. And then there's Tsu, which can mean only two things: Texas State University or Tennessee State University. Given there's no mountains around that stretch of Texas, I'm led to believe the latter, with the Great Smoky Mountains. It's also in the middle of the Bible Belt, which lends credence to the theory that Yama is actually a doctor. Subscribe for weekly Bible verses. Yama in Freedom Unite also has the ability to hit us with the spin cycle, whoa! Turning a relatively useless game mechanic in the crouch into the only possible way to survive. Standing up, you will get CTE all the way down to your fucking toenails, rendering you a slobbering bag of mixed beans. This is a fun fight, and so the Gen 2 devs had to find a solution to make it much less fun. And that is why every so often the dragon deluges the tower top with a bevy of bugs, thunderous in nature. But fret not, because with the power of being a boring, stupid fucking light bowgun player, we have the ability to switch to pellet ammo, and sometimes hit all the bugs. In this fight, stamina management is also surprisingly important, as the Monster Hunter devs, for some reason, decided to make it completely and utterly impossible to jump off this ledge, unless you are specifically running and not doing the tired run. It has to be the energized run. For some reason, if your stamina is in the red, instead of leaping off, you'll instead grind your face against an invisible wall, effectively resigning you to only this crescent, which can lead to some really bad situations where you really want to dodge the oncoming Mega Chomp, but I can't, I'm too tired, oh no. Again, it's literally this meme. Unfortunately, as I was geared to the teeth with Gunner's stuff, I had no room left for stamina restoration. So once I ran out of stamina, that was it, leading to a surprisingly difficult fight where positioning mattered a lot, and I didn't capitalize on some things that I otherwise could have. The Yama deflation, for example. When Yama is fully deflated, he'll fall down and need to catch himself on the tower to pump up his gas again. In this time, hunters can sometimes jump down and land on him, giving the ability to carve and place dragon bombs. But without the ability to jump off, this time that could otherwise be used to gain an advantage is a waste of time. In a really stressful quest against a very healthy monster, where every single valuable second matters. That having this long break where the monster's too far away to do anything is not good, and you have to sit there and painfully watch or shoot it with ammo. But because this is out of the critical bowgun range, this is more of a waste of ammo than anything else. The dragon will fully deflate at least 2 times before finally kicking the bucket. And believe me, it was terrifyingly close. I had gotten down to the last 5 minutes and only 2 handfuls of normal level 3, preparing to do the rest of the quest with a dinky bowgun melee attack, when finally... Wow. Incredible fight. And what do you know? I don't think I'm going to be able to jump down and carve. It was perhaps the most arduous and daunting task, but Granny felled the floating mountain dragon, and then struggled in agony because her non-existent stamina bar made it so that she couldn't jump down and carve the monster's tantalizingly tentacled to corpse. Nevertheless, she had done it, and we rapidly approached the finale. The final quest here is now upon us. G 3-star. The next stream, I tried capturing a pet Razang in Dose. It didn't work. But my friend Abiarugu was in the call and was telling me about the wonders of trying to solo Dose with Hunting Horn and how absolutely fucking miserable it is, being walled for months straight by Black Gravios. Out of solidarity, I went Hunting Horn to fight Freedom Unite's G-rank Black Gravios, and failed the quest after 45 minutes of doing absolutely fucking nothing. Then, I ran the quest again with the Sacred Wetlands and failed again. And at that point, I knew that the blessed Pleziath Water Lance had finally been power corrupt. God damn it. Rest well in my item box, Pleziath Water Lance. You were nothing but the best. Thankfully, the Copper Blango bowgun had no qualms picking up the slack, and we dispelled the G 3-star Gravios threat. Our next marked the final and best greatsword in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, King Atiart's sword. Without purple sharpness slotted in, only beaten by the Tigrex Supreme sword. With purple sharpness though, utterly unmatched. To create this, we must first run the Diablos Gauntlet one final time, requiring 5 heavy spines of each, and 2 twisted horns of each kind. But none of these posers were the king, and so the last of the Diablos fell, and with it Granny had enough parts to craft a true endgame weapon. The final greatsword, King Atiart's sword. At least she wanted to make it, but she's a brokey. Master Lobster, I'm poor. How can I make money?
Granny, my child, you're broke as fat limau. Ikut nasihat saya dengan teliti. Pertama sekali anda akan mewujudkan perniagaan yang menyelesaikan masalah biasa yang dihadapi oleh setiap orang.
Hey guys, don't you hate it when the IRS sends people to your house? I know I do. That's why I've decided to invent this revolutionary device, designed to separate every molecule in their body.
Bukan itu maksud saya. Jangan cederakan seseorang secara fizikal.
Hey guys, have you always wanted to fall for an obvious scam? Have you ever forfeited all your money to someone that would kick you in your ribs if they saw that you were down? Now you can, by investing your life savings in Johnny Buns coin today. Featuring my old pal Johnny Buns.
Disclaimer, Granny Veg and Johnny Buns cannot be held liable in a court of law.
What the fuck are you?
Oh, you know, Johnny.
Baiklah, ini tak berkesan. Cuma, jadilah kreatif. Mesti ada sesuatu yang anda boleh sediakan.
You're right, Johnny. Get naked.
Apa-apa sahaja selain itu. Cuba tiru seseorang pada ketika ini.
You're so right, and I know just the thing. I invited 7 death row inmates to an island to play IRL Fortnite Battle Royale. Little did they know that this island is actually—
Oh my fucking god, stop. Do you feel number shame in doing this?
What? This is what humans do. We sell our soul for tokens.
Kalian manusia menjijikkan. Bantulah orang lain dan pupuslah.
After getting our money up, and not our funny up, please guys, I promise I can write at least one funny joke by the end of this video, we can craft King Atiart's sword and head out to slay a Tigrex, the monstrous beast that kick-started Granny's journey. And despite the multitudes of greatsword moments throughout this quest, I still managed to fell the beast in a little over 25 minutes. Not bad. Maybe it isn't the greatest idea to constantly fish for charge slashes on a charging Rex, but what can I say? I just cannot help myself. Eventually it'll result in an awesome clippable moment that I can show on the video and being like, this one right here, and this one, and this one. I promise they're not the same exact clip, and if they are, oh fucking well, get over it already. So what is this quest anyway? No, it can't be. A G-rank dual Tigrex quest? Actually, this quest is not nearly as bad as the high-rank one, mainly because it takes place in the desert and not the cramped snowy mountains. In the snowy mountains, you're nearly guaranteed to have both Tigrexes in the same zone. But down here in his sandy homeland, the second guy might as well be on a vacation. Seriously, they did not show up in the same room a single time. They really weren't fancying vegetables for dinner. And we dispatched of the duo in the same exact way, bringing the king's sword down on a tail and then a face. Thank you, Tigrex. You were a fantastic flagship. With Tigrex and a few other miscellaneous wyverns felled, we move on to the Metal Wraths. Silver was a bastard because of how much he flew, and it took me over half an hour to beat. Gold was much faster to beat because she's a more grounded combatant. Both of them at the same time? Fuck. This is one of the nastiest quests Freedom Unite has to offer. Mostly on account of the dynamic dazzling duo constantly throwing out big hitboxes and windboxes. It is incredibly easy to get comboed to death, and unlike the infamous dual Tigrex quest, these two are locked in the same exact area together. This is one of the few Freedom Unite quests that I couldn't do on the first day of attempts, as the metal duo kept tossing my salad, and not in the fun way. And so I resigned to putting it off for a day where Granny was stronger. A day I hopefully would be better. After the embarrassing disaster of the Wrath duos came a new challenger, sort of. One of the first of a new monster subclass, the Variant. Along with Rusted Kushala Deora, the second generation of Monster Hunter saw the introduction of Furious Rajang. When a Rajang loses its tail, its ability to curb its anger is permanently disabled, and it spends the rest of its life in a state of permanent fury. In this game, his default state is the golden back stripe state, but when he enrages, his body and fists crackle with the power of lightning, and his attack power is massively increased. Despite visually looking cool with the crackling electricity, he doesn't really fight all that differently though. And the OG I'm really angry variant of the series dies, with his face in the wall. And we're given a pair of illustrious golden snowshoes, footwear made of Angry Monkey. The Rajang Duo Arena quest from way back in low rank makes a reappearance here in G rank, with the same bit of the bigger monkey always being loaded into the map while doing other things. This might have been harder than the Metal Wrath Duo in terms of difficulty if both Rajangs were in the same arena fighting simultaneously, but because they're not, it's not terrible. The quest difficulty starts off as like a straight line with small Rajang, and then Big Brother jumps in and it shoots up because a gargantuan monkey hopped in. And then it dips back down but is still pretty high because, oh my god, the hitboxes this guy throws out are ginormous and deadly. Normally a perfect roll is something you can do to keep you from taking damage or to get you out of a tricky situation, but against a Rajang this size, they are needed to beat the quest. Now, I'm not talking about one perfect roll, I'm talking about a whole bakery. One single enraged punch does an absolutely monstrous amount of damage, to the point where it almost isn't even worth it to engage with a monster when it's enraged. Flash bombs are given for this quest, and the only thing they can really accomplish is making Rajang much worse, because they remove his need to turn before attacks, so he can just fire off infinite volleys of them without a care. But what they are good for is sharpening and healing. Just make sure this is done far away from the monkey because sometimes he can feel his way over to you. Then, of course, there's one of the deadliest foes that I have neglected to mention up until this point. One that's been a silent killer in the background for almost the entire story. The Monster Hunter Freedom Unite wall. And not a wall in a metaphorical sense, literally just the wall. When you're up against a wall, the camera, in a terrible fit of rage, tries to wrangle your neck, making sure that whatever awful situation that put you there, you are not getting out of. What's more, the walls are a deadly aid to a monster's arsenal. And the reason for that is that it stops them from moving forward. Imagine you're this green dot, a hunter, and a monster does a moving hitbox like a charge. Normally, you would just get right out of the way, right? Easy. Then the charge, instead of moving past you, would stay a giant stationary hitbox. And if that wall is even slightly slanted towards you, instead of charging into the wall and stopping, the attack that would have otherwise missed you will be funneled right into you. This happens quite a lot in this game, and it's extremely important to not wall fight unless you have a specific strategy in mind. Otherwise, you can have moments like a Superman dive against a Black Diablos not working because instead of charging past, she hit a wall and has stood there aggressively gyrating her entire clitoral hood on me. After 30 minutes, the big Rajang went down, much to the accursed wall's chagrin. Rajang's not out of the story yet, though, for Granny has decided that she will be making the rest of her journey with Rajang's armor. He gives her horns and pelts, and in return, he fucking dies. What followed was hours of grinding golden Rajang pelts from the Furious Boy and a regular Rajang horns from the regular guy. After 10 dead Rajangs, I hadn't gotten a single horn, and then the next hunt I got 1. And the one after that I got 2. It also required Kashala Deora and gold Rathian parts, which at this point were both very easy monsters for me. Newly geared in endgame monkey gear, Granny decided to take it out on a test run by cleaning up some endgame trash. And she found that the set greatly increased her greatsword and hammer's charge speed, and made it so every draw attack had 100% affinity. This giving weapon drawn charge slashes on the strongest greatsword a monstrous 25% attack boost, completely voiding its only downside of low affinity. Granny slayed dozens of monsters known for their strength and power, and she did it effortlessly, except for the only base game quest that uses the Moat Arena. She failed that one. She also found a way to cart to a literal cart, which is hilariously ironic. And after cleaning up the trash, there was not a single other quest in the game without some kind of importance. The first one taken on being defending Dendorma from the godly tall man one final time. This time there was no stress. There was no franticity, only a hunter at work, killing the fortress on legs with much time to spare. Next up, the Dual Wrath quest. This time she wasn't here to play. By targeting gold and positioning herself to be on the opposite side of silver, she hacked away at the female wyvern, methodically piecing apart the golden loon until that gilded glint left her eye, leaving the silver Saul all alone, whom now is able to be systematically destroyed himself, bringing us to the final quest with the last new monster, the ending of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Absolute Zero. Our foe this time is the Black God's equal, the White God at Ukanlos. This one being a major threat to the village with its placement at the peak of the Snowy Mountains, the same snowy mountains that we call home. Ukanlos is a monstrous hulking flying wyvern that, just like the Akantor, lost its wings in the evolutionary process for reasons similar, or so I presume. This guy is pumped full of layers upon layers of blubber, and can withstand the absolute coldest of climates without flinching. His most notable feature being the huge, serrated shovel-like chin, with a purpose of digging through ice and snow, and large, blunt claws, great for stomping palicos, with a streamlined body perfect for swimming through Arctic water and sheets of ice alike. Similar to a Akantor and, by extension, Tigrex, Ukanlos shares a booming roar capable of slaughtering hunters, as well as its own new attacks, like the concentrated ice beam, expelling a concentrated blast of blue out of his mouth, and with such force, it launches giant chunks of debris everywhere. The chances of getting hit by the ice beam are almost non-existent, but the ice blocks are a different story. And then there's the big shovel scoop that similarly upheaves huge blocks of ice with a randomized trajectory. I once thought I had this move figured out, but then it hit me. And then the dreaded, deadliest attack of the White God's arsenal, the Ukanlos Super Swim, where the baleen behemoth digs into the evidently really thick ice of the pond underneath Arena, considering the fact that it can hold all this, and swims towards you with such a fucking unbelievably aggressive homing, it would make Akantor's charge blush. The way to dodge this being to be at the right place at the right time, being close to the place the monster entered the ground, and also being ready to dive, or hunting horn movement speed buff your way out of the way. Because this arena is way too small for this monster, the walls make a pretty deadly attack way deadlier. There is a tech to see if this attack is coming though. Just like Akantor, if you paintball Ukanlos, you can see where the monster is going. If he darts over to a different side of the arena, there's not really anything to worry about, as he's just going to re-emerge without doing anything. But if he digs underground and stays there, that's a swim in the making. This battle is entirely new for me, as I hadn't made it this far when I originally played Freedom Unite. I like how this keeps up the trend of the guild trying to set up camps in the Snowy Mountains and continually failing, as this fight features not 1, but 2 destroyed campsites in both of the 2 areas. I like the little bit of environmental storytelling too, with the base camp where you can see it was pulled down the mountain, probably via avalanche. If I had to guess, this was probably an avalanche caused by Eucanlos and his big ol' roars. Unimportant, but in the intro cutscene for Eucanlos, you can actually see the guy's shadow on the ground while he's supposed to be underground, so that's funny. I brought the Crow Shamisen as it just felt right after all the work it put in and how good it was against a Cantor. And while the Crow Shamisen doesn't counter Eucanlos as hard it does a Cantor, given that this guy doesn't just chill out underground like the Black God tends to, the movement speed buff is very worth it, even allowing Granny to dodge with the weapon drawn in some cases. Despite that though, this was far from an easy fight. This monster hits hard, and I mean really hard. But he has blind spots. His roar, for example. Despite being loud enough to physically hurt you and send you flying, the area of effect is surprisingly tiny, allowing for a free song not too far away from him. Also, a lot of his attacks leave his hind legs very open. I found myself often mashing against the dude's hind legs. He only really has one move that could reliably cover that area. Despite this, my first attempt was unsuccessful and ended to the dastardly Eucanlos breaststroke. The following attempt looked like it was coming to a similar result, and just as I was starting to doubt the White God would fall, it finally happened. The Eucanlos lay slain upon the pinnacle of the Snowy Mountains, and he looks absolutely flabbergasted. Granny is awarded the Eucanlos bead for saving Paki Village once and for all. The Paki Village elder imparts her final wisdom upon Granny. First thanking her for her efforts and explaining that the original Paki Village chief, the one that owned the Fatalis sword and drove out the Acantor, was slain by Eucanlos. And in a way, it's come full circle. He started the Macalite mining village, he made the sword, he drove out the Acantor. He died to the Eucanlos, and then we came along, mined his sword, slayed the Acantor, and slayed Eucanlos. We are close to the end. There's only 2 major obstacles in our way now. The G-Rank rematch with the Ancestral Dragon, and Nekot's final challenge. The rematch with White Fatalis needs to be unlocked in a similar way to the high rank one. Black Fatalis is unlocked by doing Hunter's Dojo quests, this time at the G level ending in Furious Rujang. Surprisingly, Lavaziath was the monster that gave me the most stress during this, causing me to fail the quest 2 separate times. But when all the monsters were over and done with, and with the Hunter's Dojo completely complete, we can turn our attention to G-Rank's return of the Black Dragon. Greatsword actually counters Fatalis extremely well, with the expectation that you can consistently hit his head with those charged slashes. Unfortunately, this is an extremely precise and difficult monster to get those head snipes in. It's possible to hit his head on this turn if you're a literal genius statistician god that can see 5 steps ahead. Look at how jerky this movement is, and the way his whole body shifts position too. How are you supposed to consistently hit that? Despite that though, it is possible, it's just I didn't do it. He can also be hit during his fireball, but it's really hard to not detonate while doing so. The best spot for getting the charge slashes is when he's walking in place. A fraction of a second after he takes a step, his jaw will bob downward, which is the only moment where it's in range to be whacked. As it was my first time greatswording Fat Boy, I was, to put it gently, completely and utterly dog shit. And despite being so bad, I still managed to fell the legend on attempt 2, which speaks volumes on the damage output of King Atiar's sword. This thing is a monster in and of itself. And then the search for Crimson Fatalis. Upon Granny's return to Paki, she found that the Crimson Fatalis quest wasn't made available to her. How strange. Whatever could the problem be? Her sources told her that the quest for Crimson Fatalis is unlocked by slaying every single Elder Dragon, which she did, except for one. Wait, what? It's still not unlocked? What the hey is going on? Do I have to kill high rank White Fatalis to unlock Crimson Fatalis? Well, alrighty then. I mean, with the King's sword, how hard could this... Oh my God. King Atiar's sword isn't strong enough to kill a high rank White Fatalis. Not even 20% health chipped off of this high rank monster. Even doing the sweat strat of bombing him didn't put a dent in armor mode. Oh no. While ignoring the glaring realization that the walls are closing in on her and she might not be able to kill the vast white beast, she looked through the motion pictures of her previous runs and saw that, oh wait, she never killed a G-rank Tiastra, only repelled. Well, and with the Emperor of Flame breathing his last scorching breath, the Crimson Flame makes an appearance in the quest pool. Thank God. Just like Black Fatalis, there really isn't much new to his G-rank fight, aside from just being better designed overall. And we move on to finish the last stretch of quests. Notice how I said last stretch, because yes, we're not quite to the Ancestor yet. First, we got Treasure Quest. Woo! Okay, please do not skip this part, I promise. There's some interesting stuff here. I also promise there won't be too many ads. Okay, well, except for that one. Treshy is the brother of the Pocky Granny, a few hundred years young, and he heads the Pocky Point grinding system that is treasure hunts. In these quests, all gathering items get replaced with valuable treasures that you can hand to Treshy at the end of the quest. The reason why I saved it to talk about until the very end of the video? I don't know. That's the actual answer. I don't know. I don't really need to grind Pocky points. My farm is perfect. I got the casting machine, the bug tree. We all good here. But I do like the treasure hunting quests just to see and read about all the new items you can collect, like wyvern shrooms and their reproductive power, or the fact that you can make bacon out of blango. Then there's the pickaxe fish that I can kind of understand, like it could look like Terraria's reaver shark. What the fuck is a bugnet fish? Then there's the godlike fish, Susano fish, carved from the collapsed cadaver of a crustacean. And of course, the sun goddess fish. Also, who is this in-universe dude that's just named John Arthur? There are so many cool and funny items to be collected here, like Chuck Mackerel, that I couldn't include in this video. They do such a good job of building the world of Monster Hunter in an interactive way. Some of them name locations that are otherwise referred to as things like just desert, while others give potential context and lore to the world. One of my favorite treasures is hidden behind this rock, only passable via explosives. Here at the heart of the Great Forest, we can find this gargantuan thousand-year seed, which I assume is the origin point for the giant trees seen throughout the Monster Hunter world. And while it would be fun to sit here and talk about all the funny items you can get on this quest, it's about time for us to end it. With literally every single other quest left in the game completed, Granny has reached the peak of a hunter's accomplishments, and it was time to meet the vast white dragon on the pinnacle of that tower one last time. The quest came in the form of an invitation from a mystery man clad in red, one that's been silently keeping track of her progress in the background. The ball would take place atop that tower. Her dance partner awaited, pulsing red with endless fury. She didn't know if it would be possible given the high rank situation, but she would sure try. The final battle has begun. The Ancestor did not take it easy on her, constantly perching and flying up high and out of range. Unfortunately for the dragon, Granny was warm, and as such timed her charged slashes impeccably well. The monster was hurting badly, with a mangled scar spreading across the left side of its face, obscuring its eye. And then armor mode hit in the most fitting way possible.
Armor mode!
The monster had activated its greatest power, and if armor mode wasn't completely overpowered, then this fight could totally be doable in just one hunt. Unfortunately, it is completely overpowered. This quest was a success, and Granny repelled the beast, fully completing the Gathering Hall. But the victory rung hollow. The monster fled. He still lived. Despite being a win in the literal sense, it just didn't feel right. So Granny sought to play the long game. She would kill the ancestral dragon, and she would do it in tiny little 20% increments. She just needed to make it through 20% of armor mode. So she geared herself to the teeth with explosives, weapons that aren't affected by monster defense. Whenever the barrel bomb L+s would detonate, the Elder almost always flinched. And because she was geared to the gills, she could immediately recraft all the bombs that were just spent. It was tense, it was tedious, and it was incredibly disheartening as the Great White Elder took every single bomb Granny threw at it, and still, it just didn't make any difference whatsoever. Even with the strongest greatsword in the entire game, armor mode was untouchable, and there wasn't anything she could do about it. The pain of fighting your heart out for 50 straight minutes only to realize it was all for naught, and you couldn't even crack 20%, it was breaking in its weight. She needed some kind of hope. Oh, Master Lobster, even at my strongest, I'm not making a dent in the ancestral dragon. I've met my match and can't go on. But what hurts is that I met my match after doing every single other thing perfectly. It hurts in such a deep way, knowing I made it to the very end of a long journey, but couldn't jump the final hurdle.
Granny, my child, there is a way. In my lifetime, I have never seen anyone as white as that dragon. It hurts my eyes. During the creation of the universe, there were only 3 people, me, the white dragon, and some weird guy named Young Timur. But we are linked, you see, the 3 of us, the ones who were there to witness the birth of everything there is. We all share a common weakness.
What is it, Lobster? I need to know.
The hour has come where I must shed this mortal shell. Good luck, Granny, and remember, the answer is in the lyric.
No, old Jungle Area 8 Lobster, don't go. I can't do this without you. What do you mean by the lyric? There are no lyrics. It's just... Wait a second. Wait a second. Wielding the marine fisher's final form, made out of parts carved out of the hot fish's body, Granny got to work chipping away at the ancestral dragon. Just like bombs, the gunlance uses fixed explosive damage that ignores monsters' defense. It has dramatically less damage than the King's Sword, but it was the only option. The final battle had commenced. If White Fatalis won, Granny would retire knowing she wasn't able to truly slay every single monster. And if Granny won, she would finally prove herself a true monster hunter. The battle proved to be challenging. Her armor was to augment a greatsword's ability, and not a gunlance's. And because it was a gunlance, Granny had to wipe about a planet's worth of wet stones into dust, just to keep it sharp. As the battle raged on, she noticed that while the dragon was resolute, it did flinch away from her explosive blasts quite often, in comparison to the King's greatsword. And those fleeting moments of possibility gave her hope. She was making progress. But the question remained though, would it be enough? This was the moment the long journey culminated into. Every heartbreaking feint and every exhilarating victory. It will all be proven to be worth it or not. Up here, at the forlorn tower's top, the light shone once more, announcing the ancestor has returned. My shoulders burdened, geared to the teeth. All boats have been burned. An invitation from a man in red, a ball with a grim dancer. Hot fish, hot fish. To some it was a lyric. To me, it was the answer. It was over. Granny had proven herself a shining star above all hunters. A beacon whose light is representative of her strength and ability to persevere through it all, no matter what. And with that, we still aren't quite entirely done with the game. That's right. Once again, I lied. I thought it would be more satisfying to finish the game on Nekot's final quest, aptly named Monster Hunter, a send-off to the second generation of Monster Hunter games, with a final showdown with its main representatives. The iconic red wyvern with endearingly goofy hitboxes, an ancient and hyper-aggressive wyvern infamous for its relentless stampedes, a beloved Black Panther wyvern, a great test of timing and skill, and my favorite monster and fight to come from this generation, the Rajang, who endearingly beat the shit out of me on my first run through of that quest. I got him on the second attempt though. All it took was a little endurance. And I think that sentence sums up the whole adventure quite nicely. The quest was over, the ape fell, and Granny was awarded the coveted Supreme Hunter's Crest. Thanks for watching this video all the way up until the end. Sorry it took so long to make. Life's had a few twists and turns in the last 6 months, which took me away from YouTube for a bit, but Now with this video done, I'm hoping to come back to streaming and working toward the next video. Come follow my second and Twitch channels if you want to see. And if you want to watch any one part of this Freedom Unite playthrough, 99% of it is logged on my second channel, so feel free to give that a watch. As you could tell, I fiddled around with Blender a little bit, decided I'd make some animations of my own. They turned out fine-ish. Not really, but you gotta start somewhere. I'd also like to verbally thank some of the people that helped me make this video, or who made an appearance, like Rob Nolk and Ladyfish for their awesome animations, Abby Rugu for being Norwegian, and Oceanus, who somehow came up with 30 whole seconds of Nargacuga effects off the dome, which I found quite impressive. Thanks as well to my awesome channel members for financially supporting me. All your wonderful donations are going on black. I promise when I win it big at the roulette table, I will redistribute all my earnings amongst you. Which is what I would say if I didn't already know that I'm going to re-gamble all that money away immediately. Anyways, you are all so numerous, I can hardly walk around my own penthouse apartment. This is for calling me bald. You too can have a chance to be thrown off of my 40th floor balcony by becoming a channel member. Do that today! Anyways, that's all I have. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good night.
Wow.